The Throne of the Mechas. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 426, Nuclear Bomb Under the Hotel. In order to solve this problem, scientists on Earth invented a vibration damping device for buildings in the 1950s. This device is to bury huge vibration damping components in the base and key floors of the building. They are made of huge springs and rubber. The vibration damping device is connected to the load-bearing structure of the building. Once the building sways in strong winds or earthquakes, the force on the building will be transmitted to the vibration damping components, and these components will undergo reasonable displacement to offset the force of the vibration. The Golden City Hotel is a super building. Its underground 6th floor is a very huge vibration damping device. This device is composed of hundreds of thousands of super alloy springs and tens of thousands of tons of rubber products. The cost of such a vibration damping device is as high as tens of billions of star coins. Each spring is twisted with an alloy wire with a diameter of 1.5 meters, and the diameter of each spring can reach more than 4 meters. The backhand of the Xumo family is hidden in this huge vibration damping device. In the center of the vibration damping device, Xumo asked his confidants to hide a nuclear bomb with a diameter of 2 meters and a length of 5 meters. The appearance of this nuclear bomb looks like an ordinary alloy support column, right in the center of the vibration damping device. Because it was hidden too deep, tens of thousands of giant springs and tens of thousands of giant rubber pads had to be removed to see it, so the technicians of the Korovin family and the Chen family who came to inspect the quality of the Golden City Hotel project did not find the nuclear bomb. Now, Xumo is completely disappointed with the Gemini, and he has no attachment to this place. Before leaving, he personally detonated this last Easter egg. Although the equivalent of this nuclear bomb is not large, but the huge shockwave and infrasound generated by the nuclear explosion almost instantly killed the Golden City Hotel and everyone within a radius of 1,000 meters. Then, the high temperature of tens of millions of degrees Celsius released from the center of the nuclear explosion instantly melted the entire vibration damping device and the thick super strong alloy support components. Driven by the shockwave, the Golden City Hotel fell. This iconic event gave Xumo the nickname Gemini Devil, but that's all for later. On the Count Dracula, everyone stared at the big screen, stunned. Originally, Xia Xingchen and his team thought that ambushing, hitting with clubs, and destroying the spacecraft of the Gemini security fleet was already a big deal. But seeing that there was a Cyclops system and a nuclear bomb attack on Gemini, Xia Xingchen and his team were amazed by the courage and viciousness of Mr. Xumo. Carlos, we can't let them look down on us. Let's get started. Xia Xingchen gave the order. At this time, the command room of the Korovin family was in chaos, and the medical staff gave emergency rescue to several big guys. After a long time, several people woke up. However, neither Old Omaha nor Chen Ziguan left. Chen Ziguan was wearing an oxygen mask, while Old Omaha was wearing a pacifica, and was still on an 4th drip. They wanted to stay here, on the one hand, to see how much they had lost this time, and on the other hand, they wanted to ask the Korovin family for an explanation. If they left now, they would not get any compensation. Count our losses. D. Mattia. Korovin's eyes were red, but he said weakly that vomiting blood was a serious injury. Report to General Amory. The communication of the space station has been restored. It's just bullshit. You can't even speak clearly. Major General Amory concentrated his anger on his staff. The staff looked aggrieved and simply connected the communication from the binary star to the big screen. The other side saw that it was General Amory, and it was like a bereaved mother. General, something big has happened. We followed your instructions to prevent the 4th Fleet's ships from docking at the space station, and those guys actually opened fire on us. Now, except for the 4 medium-sized ships on Gemini 9 and Gemini 10, all our troops have been wiped out, including the thousands of civilian ships docked at the dock. They were all destroyed. The 4th Fleet left, and my commander shot himself. General Amory's eyes were straight. For the Northern Empire, spaceships and mechas are the most valuable assets. Now that the fleet has been completely destroyed, it is equivalent to the entire army being annihilated. What awaits him now is not as simple as losing his job and going to jail. What awaits him will be Nicholas's anger and the punishment of confiscating his property and exterminating his clan. Even the core of his family can't protect him. At this time, Amori's mind kept recalling the words of his subordinates just now. Drink a bullet and commit suicide. Drink a bullet and commit suicide. He stretched his hand to the holster on his waist, pointed it at his head, and was about to pull the trigger. It's not good. It's a big deal. The subordinate shouted, and his hand trembled again, and the gun almost fell to the ground. At this time, nearly 15 billion slaves on Gemini and Hell were surprised to find that their biggest nightmare, the shackles on their necks, the slave collars that threatened their lives at all times, were automatically unlocked and opened. Then, the door locks of the cells where slaves were imprisoned with the central control system were automatically opened. In order to open these door locks spread across the 2 planets, Carlos's CPU ran at full capacity for a long time again. Then, on Heaven and Hell, including the Gemini space station and satellites, as long as the Gemini land covers the area, a video appeared on all large TV screens, communicator screens, networks, and personal terminals. The video showed a middle-aged white man wearing a classic white shirt, a black bow tie, and a traditional black dress on Earth. The man had a pale face, black hair, and a retro hairstyle, which was shiny. His black eyes had a natural charm that made people want to get close to him and even offer their necks. His eyes were deep and charming, just like the universe, attracting the attention of countless people. He spoke, his voice was loud, majestic, and magnetic. I'm Count Dracula, the great king of vampires. As soon as he spoke, the entire Gemini was shocked. Although humans have entered the space age for more than 2000 years, the story of vampires has been circulating in movies. Countless people fantasize about becoming vampires and gaining powerful powers. Chapter 427, The Resurrection of Count Dracula. Countless women even had sparks of love in their eyes. Although there are many legends about Count Dracula, there is one legend that fascinates most women. According to the legend, Count Dracula was the most powerful knight in the church. He and Pope Saint Peter led the believers of the Lord to defeat the pagans. His reputation frightened his enemies, and his wife was killed by the enemy's trick, and thus fell into hell. He served the Lord all his life, but his wife was thrown into hell, so he turned into a vampire, and became the prince of vampires, leading the vampires to fight against the Lord. In 1462, the famous Vlad III, Prince Dracula, Count of Transylvania, Romania, abandoned his faith in God, and vowed to break off from light and surrender to the devil, because of the suicide of his beloved Princess Elizabeth. As a result, he gained unlimited power and boundless magic power, but was cursed by the devil and became immortal. He lived with darkness and blood all day long, and was named Count Dracula, the bloodthirsty king. From then on, a 400-year-old bloodthirsty legend was set off. And all this was because of Count Dracula's infinite love for his beloved Princess Elizabeth. In February 1862, in the famous Romanian ruins of Transylvania Castle, the local brave shepherd sneaked into it a few months ago and found the body of an unknown man with a silver sword, pierced his heart in the tower at the top of the castle. Why was he pierced in the heart by a silver sword? Why did the man have such a happy and peaceful smile on his face? All this is unknown. The local government held a grand funeral for this handsome unknown man. Why? Only when you really see how handsome, happy, and peaceful he is, no one will disagree to let this man rest in peace. For his lover, he was willing to fall and become a child of darkness, just to wait for his love. These 400 years of loneliness, these 400 years of longing, death is actually the happiness he wants most. I have been sleeping for more than 2000 years. I came to the universe from the earth. I didn't expect that this world is still so evil. Humans actually oppress each other so much. What equality for all is just a joke. Look at the ridiculous Gemini. Whether it is heaven or hell, this is a place where people eat each other. Even if we are vampires, we will bury them after sucking their blood, instead of treating them like the slave owners here, squeezing out the last value from their bodies and handing them over to the tequila family to be made into specimens and fertilizers. Now, your prayers are useless. The church is an evil organization, and the so-called God is just a big liar. Even if you start praying, since you were born, it will not come to save you. But now, I'm here. I'm here to save you, for no other reason than that I'm not happy with this evil slavery system and this northern empire. Everyone on the 2 planets who saw the video was silent. Count Dracula said again, "Now, I have opened the shackles for you." He waved his hand, and the screen showed a video of countless people untying the slaves' collars, and people's faces showed surprise. "I will also help you open the cage." Then the video showed countless central control monitoring doors being opened automatically. "I will provide you with weapons." At this time, the weapons depots of various slave traders and even the military were automatically opened. "I even helped you eliminate the devil." At this time, the screen showed the mechas and ground forces of the 4 major families being destroyed by missile rain and anti-mecha mines, and then the Cyclops system was activated. The Golden City Hotel collapsed, and the spacecraft of the security forces was destroyed. Oh my god, haha, finally someone punished them. Long live Count Dracula. Long live the King of Vampires. Now most people on Gemini have seen the video and know that something happened to Gemini, and it was a big thing. Especially seeing the destruction of the troops with the logo of the 4 major families just now. These slaves have all thought about escaping here. Count Dracula spoke again, interrupting people's discussion. Humans are born equal. No one is born noble, and no one is born a lowly slave. Moreover, in this world, no one is born righteous or evil. All paths are chosen by you. I, Count Dracula, have helped you remove the stumbling blocks on the road to freedom. Your future destiny depends entirely on you. Now, take up arms and fight for your freedom. As long as you believe in the great vampire king, I will give you power. The video ends with a black screen with Dracula's signature in blood. Kill those guards and fight for freedom. Thanks, great vampire king. Count Dracula, you are a god. The slaves rushed out of the cells like chicken blood, broke into the armory, or attacked the guards with various weapons in their hands. They were beaten and abused by these guards on weekdays, and many of their relatives and friends died at their hands. This time, they were free and had weapons, and the blood feud accumulated in their daily lives erupted like an erupting volcano. The slaves also united to attack the camps where the slaves failed to escape. A large number of slave traders and their families, followers, and thugs were pulled out by the slaves and brutally killed. Originally, these slaves were a mess, but soon, some slaves made a lot of black flags with Count Dracula's bloody signature on them. When the slaves who fought each other saw these flags, they would spontaneously gather together and become a rolling torrent. Soon, all the slave owners were killed or wounded, and these slaves turned their targets to the government departments and even the military of the Northern Empire. All the military facilities were captured. The slaves even robbed some mechas and space shuttles. Of course, the first to be hit were the Silver Moon Hotel in the slave trade world. The slave traders living in the hotel were picked out and shot one by one. The shops in the slave trade world were not spared. Even the merchants doing other businesses were affected. Tar was very scared. If he hadn't left there with Xia Xingchen, he might have been killed by the slaves. Now, the crazy slaves are attacking Korovin Manor. Bang! Major General Amori understood what had happened and finally couldn't bear such stimulation and pulled the trigger. Brain matter and blood splattered all over Chen Ziguan's face, but Chen Ziguan would not despise it because Chen Ziguan was already dead. He had just seen in the video the scene of his family being pulled out and torn into pieces by angry slaves. He couldn't catch his breath and suffocated to death. Old Omaha was still lying on the ground. He also had a sudden heart attack and all his blood vessels burst. He had been dead for a long time. Even the perverted Takeda Jiufu was trembling at this time. You know, the Takeda family is the most hated object of the slaves. The slaves even want to drink their blood and eat their flesh. Lord Korovin, the slaves are about to break in. Joe stumbled in from outside. The spaceship is ready to take off. Take me to the spaceship. Joe, you hold here and wait for reinforcement. Yes, sir. Joe's face looked very bad. He knew that he was abandoned. But there was no way. His family was in the Korovin galaxy. If he didn't obey, his family would die without a burial place. This is also a means for the Korovin family to control their subordinates. Sir, take me away. Take me away from here. Takeda Gyufu suddenly ran over. Okay, you get up. I'll take you away. Takeda Gyufu quickly got up. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Matia. Koravin pretended to walk forward, suddenly reached into his pocket, took out a pistol, pointed it at Takeda Gyufu's head. Go home. Bang. Takeda Gyufu's body fell to the ground dejectedly. Chapter 428 Aftermath. In the cockpit of Count Dracula, everyone saw what happened on the twins on the big screen, as well as the video made by Carlos, and the friends were stunned. A miracle, it's simply a miracle, Captain Belsay exclaimed. Yes, Carlos is better than his elder brother. Alessa inevitably compared Carlos with his elder brother. She really regarded Carlos as a person with full body mechanical prostheses. I think he is a charlatan. Xia Xingchen was very helpless. Only he knew Carlos's true identity. If these people knew that he was an advanced artificial intelligence, what would they think? Keela shook his head, axing, this is wrong. Carlos's performance is simply a religious leader, and he fully grasped the hearts of the people. If I'm not mistaken, the story of Count Dracula has just begun. He was absolutely right. UC May 2nd, 2020 was called the Day of the Advent of Miracles by historians of the Galactic Empire. From this day on, with Gemini as the center, countless religions with Count Dracula and vampires as gods rose up, becoming a huge force that influenced the Milky Way and made great contributions to mankind's later resistance to the invasion of the gods. However, the church, which was not doing well to begin with, was not so easy. The believers were attacked by the followers of Count Dracula. For safety, they had to give up their faith. After all, they had prayed for a lifetime and never saw the so-called miracle, but the Dambat in the legend of the church appeared. Count Dracula had been away from the ambush site for more than an hour and finally reunited with the small high-speed spacecraft Evil Thought. Xia Xingchen went over to pick up Xylin in person, and the 3 Ranger Mechas on Count Dracula were also moved to Evil Thought. In addition, some of the cargo on Evil Thought was also transported to Count Dracula. After all, it was foreseeable that after this incident, all ships leaving Gemini would be strictly checked. Although Carlos was responsible for the identification and navigation records, goods and other things were necessary. Xia Xingchen introduced Xylin to the new members and had a secret meeting with Xylin in person. Xia Xingchen confessed to Xylin his identity and what they were going to do, and Xylin was very excited. As a slave, she hated the Northern Empire to the core. How could she not be excited to know that her brother was so influential? Xylin was very sensible. She knew that she was the least capable person on this spaceship, and to put it bluntly, she was a burden. So she took the initiative to ask to take on the job of cooking on the spaceship. When she was trained as a slave, cooking was also an important part of the training. Now there are more than a dozen people on the ship, and they can't always eat compressed food. She quickly conquered everyone with her cooking skills. Even Nina and Elisa went to help when cooking, and learned cooking from Xylin. This is a necessary skill for girls to train their husbands. A day later, Count Dracula and Evil Thought flew out of the range of Gemini. Only then did Gemini resume external communications. The Count Dracula can no longer contact the Northern Empire's local area network, but Carlos still has a backup plan. He left an avatar of himself in the central optical computer of Gemini. This is a low-level artificial intelligence that can do some things according to the program Carlos has compiled in advance when Carlos is offline. In the Palace of Siberia, the capital of the Northern Empire, Nicholas the Great enjoyed a sumptuous dinner and prepared to continue working. He is an ambitious man, but also a workaholic. He works until the early morning every day, and then relies on 2 hours of meditation to replace sleep. It can be said that he is exhausted. The war is about to start, and there are too many things for him to worry about. Nicholas is a person who doesn't trust others. He has to take care of everything personally. The consequences of the accident of Northern Heavy Industry a few months ago have not been completely eliminated. A lot of money is needed to rebuild the Mecha laboratory, and new technicians need to be recruited. The issuance of new currency has led to more and more businessmen on the verge of bankruptcy in the country. They are desperately resisting, and riots are emerging everywhere. The Snow Demon Knights have to be exhausted and split into hundreds of parts to put out fires everywhere. The little girl named Nina was even more troublesome. Nicholas originally wanted to use her as a shield, but she had some skills and ran away from home. He was just playing around at the time, playing hard to get, but he got himself into trouble. Nina Korovin disappeared. It has been almost 2 months, and Nina still hasn't been found, so the ministers in the court began to mention the wedding in his ears like flies. Nicholas is now very haggard, especially after the accident at Northern Heavy Industry. He vomited blood, which seriously damaged his vitality. He refused to stop working and take good care of himself. His mental state is very bad, and a kind of morbidity appears on his face. The time pointed to 1 o'clock in the morning of Siberia start time, and suddenly the guards came to report that Chekhov, the Minister of the Interior of the Northern Empire, Yuri, the Director of the Military Operations Department of the Northern Empire, Bailey, the Patriarch of the Korovin family, and Andrei, the leader of the Snow Demon Knights, requested a meeting. There is urgent military information. Emperor Nicholas's face darkened. He had a premonition that something very bad had happened. At 1 o'clock in the morning in the palace of the Northern Empire on Siberia, 4 ministers urgently requested to meet with Nicholas. Nicholas's face was not good. He had a premonition that something very bad had happened. The 4 people, led by the guards, came to Nicholas's study. As soon as they entered the room, Bailey, Korovin knelt on the ground, and the other 3 saluted and stood aside. What happened that made you so panicked? Nicholas frowned. Your Majesty, something happened on Gemini. Chekhov said cautiously. Gemini? I remember Bailey said they were going to attack the Zyumo family, and I asked Andrei to send people to support Gemini. What's wrong with that? The news of the operation was leaked. The coalition forces were ambushed and suffered heavy losses. Humph, how heavy is it? A bunch of good for nothings. You can't even beat a slave trader. How can you fight the Galactic Empire? How heavy is the loss? Nicholas was still calm at this time. He thought that there would be about hundreds of thousands of casualties and some old mechas. That's all. Chapter 429 The price paid. Well, the coalition forces composed of the Gemini Security Force and the 4 major families were completely wiped out. The 200 mecha divisions of the Snow Devil Knights and Colonel Mainkov were killed, and the 4 Honeycomb class large mecha transport ships of the Snow Devil Knights were completely wiped out. In addition, the 8 large warships and 48 medium warships of the Gemini Security Forces were attacked by an unknown fleet and were almost completely wiped out. According to the survivors, the attackers pretended to be the 3rd Squadron of the 4th Fleet in the north to launch a sneak attack. Admiral Nahik of the 4th Fleet firmly denied it. We also verified from many aspects that their 3rd Squadron of the 4th Fleet was conducting fleet defense exercises with the Cold Moon large space carrier in Yuzhno-Sakhalinsk at the time. Emperor Nicholas' eyes could spit fire, and he stared straight at Chekhov in front of him. Chekhov said that he would not take the blame, so he quickly inserted a data storage device into the card reader on the wall. This is a half-hour long video. In the video, you can see that the coalition forces attacked the Zyumo family and were ambushed. Then the fleet was attacked. Finally, the Zyumo family used the Cyclops system. Nicholas was shocked. He didn't know what kind of person this Zyumo was. He was so meticulous and powerful. He was a tyrant. He even wanted to recruit him. But when he saw the last scene, he completely gave up this absurd idea. The scene was the Golden City Hotel, which fell down after the nuclear explosion, leaving a pile of ruins. Emperor Nicholas' heart was bleeding. The Golden City Hotel was a real cash cow. Before the war started, the Golden City Hotel could provide him with a fiscal revenue of about 4 trillion star coins every month. This money was enough to build an advanced mecha laboratory. If the mecha was gone, it could be built, and if the soldiers were gone, they could be recruited. As for those spaceships, most of them were cannon fodder, so it didn't matter. But if the money was gone, what would be used to build mechas and recruit soldiers? Nunlaz punched the solid wood desk in front of him, splitting the entire desk in half. He pointed at Bailey. Korovin was speechless for a long time. After a long time, he suppressed his anger. The corners of his mouth were salty. That was a mouthful of blood, which he forced to suppress. Bailey, didn't you say that the Zyumo family was not a threat? Didn't you say that it would be easy to capture them as long as we sent you the snow demons? Didn't you say that this operation could bring in a lot of profits? Now, everything is gone. You should know how much income a Golden City hotel can bring to the empire. I deserve to die. Please punish me, Your Majesty. Considering your loyalty to the empire, your Korovin family's death sentence will be pardoned, but the person in charge must die. In addition, all the economic losses caused by this operation will be borne by you, including the reconstruction of the entire Gemini security force, personnel recruitment, pensions, purchase of new mechas and spaceships, and the losses of the Snow Demon Knights. In addition, the Golden City Hotel is gone, and my fiscal revenue has lost another 3 trillion star coins every month. Your Korovin family will bear this money. Bailey Korovin almost fainted. He roughly calculated that this money would account for about 1/3 of the total wealth of the Korovin family. They would have to sell a large number of industries to make up for this shortfall. But he couldn't refuse to agree at this time. If he angered Nicholas the Great, he would really confiscate the family and exterminate the clan. By then, the family would be destroyed, and there would be no money left. Yes, Your Majesty, I will make up for this loss, even if I lose everything I have. Bailey. Korovin kowtowed on the ground. Chekhov, have you calculated the approximate amount of the loss? Nicholas looked at Chekhov, and Chekhov understood at that time that this was a blackmail. He immediately looked embarrassed. Bailey Korovin's heart suddenly became cold. He understood Nicholas's meaning very well, and he also knew that Nicholas was now driven crazy by money. He wanted to pry open people's marrow and squeeze out oil. He now regretted why he didn't have a good relationship with Chekhov. The Korovin family has always regarded themselves as royal relatives. In their eyes, Chekhov and others are Nicholas's dogs, so Bailey usually doesn't look at these people. Who knew that the retribution would come so quickly now, and he would be stabbed soon. Just as he was anxiously waiting for the number that would make his heart bleed, Chekhov spoke. Your Majesty, I haven't finished reporting yet. This loss is too great to be estimated. In the study of Emperor Nicholas's palace, Siberia, Northern Empire, Chekhov, Yuri, and Bailey, Brigadier General Korovin and Andrei came to report the emergency situation on Gemini to Emperor Nicholas the Great. Emperor Nicholas was about to make a big profit from the Korovin family, so he asked Chekhov how much the loss on Gemini was. But Chekhov began to hesitate. Bailey. Korovin suddenly felt a little overwhelmed, and he had a very bad premonition. The Korovin family had a very bad relationship with Chekhov. They were always high and mighty, thinking that Chekhov was just a dog under Nicholas. Their Korovin family was on an equal footing with Emperor Nicholas the Great. However, this time, Chekhov received the news about Gemini first. Chekhov went directly to the residence of Bailey of the Korovin family and pulled him out. On the way, the two of them rode in the same car. Chekhov slowly told him the specific situation on Gemini, but before he finished, they arrived at the palace. Bailey still only knew that the battle had failed. Your Majesty, I haven't finished reporting yet. This loss is too great and inestimable. As soon as Chekhov finished speaking, Emperor Nicholas widened his eyes, and Bailey Korovin's heart almost jumped out of his chest. What's the situation? Why can't it be counted? Nicholas asked coldly. Your Majesty, please look. Chekhov then compared a video on the big screen, which was Count Dracula's speech and the subsequent riots on Gemini. After the video was played, Nicholas asked, how is Gemini now? Chapter 430, The Collapse of the Korovin Family. Your Majesty, Gemini is completely out of control. Slaves have taken control of various planets, space stations and satellites. A large number of military facilities have been damaged. The only thing to be thankful for is that the highest authority of the central optical computer of the space station is still with us. They are afraid to use force to destroy the central optical computer. But, no reason. Why do you talk like farts? Nicholas finally couldn't help it and swore. Yes, Your Majesty. But after this disaster, the slave trading market on Gemini has been destroyed, and more importantly, the slave traders of our northern empire have almost been lost. In other words, the population trade on Gemini is completely over. Bailey knelt on the ground. Korovin's eyes went dark when he heard the news, and he collapsed to the ground. Emperor Nicholas was like a sculpture at this time. He didn't say a word for 3 minutes. and then he spurted out a mouthful of blood again. He couldn't suppress this mouthful of blood. Your Majesty, Your Majesty, Doctor, come quickly. Andrei and Chekhov rushed up and supported the shaky Nicholas. Nicholas waved his hand and straightened up with all his strength. Chekhov, go and do some statistics. Confiscate all the property of the Korovin family. Their real estate should be confiscated or auctioned off. Leave them enough money for food and a place to live. All officials of the Korovin family should be thoroughly investigated. Those with problems should be dismissed from their posts and their property confiscated. All this money should go into the national treasury. The loss of the Gemini stars is too great. Even 10 Korovin families cannot make up for it. So, Chekhov, you should keep an eye on your subordinates for the money from the confiscation. If anyone dares to take advantage of it, I will chop off his head. Nicholas knew the morality of his subordinates very well. They were very keen on confiscation, so that they could get a share of the spoils during the confiscation. Nicholas knew that, if he didn't remind them, at least 40% or even more than half of the wealth would be embezzled by his subordinates. This was also the insidious part of Nicholas. After he said this, as long as someone was blind enough to take advantage of it, he would have an excuse to continue the confiscation. In short, he had to do everything he could to make money. Also, Andrei, you take the Snow Demon Knights and the newly established 4th Fleet of the 1st Fleet of the Northern Empire to Gemini to investigate the truth of this incident. First seize control of the space station and various satellites. Then be sure to find the murderer who attacked the Gemini security fleet. I strongly suspect that this fleet is related to the Galactic Empire. It is too dangerous to allow such a fleet to roam freely within the borders. They must be eliminated. Once the war starts and they stab us in the back, we will be in danger. Yes, Your Majesty. But how do we deal with the rebellious slaves on Gemini? Andrei asked. Leave them alone and let them fend for themselves. Let me think about it. Nicholas was a little overwhelmed by this problem. If he followed his previous character, he would definitely kill them immediately, but now he couldn't. There were more than 150 slaves. If they were all killed, it would be a heavy blow to his reputation once the news got out. And if he sent troops to restore order, he didn't have so many troops and manpower. What's more, it would require huge funds. Nicholas had everything except money. Your Majesty, I have a plan, but I don't know whether I should tell you or not. Yuri squinted his eyes and spoke. Nicholas looked up at him and said, Yuri, do you have any suggestions? Yuri bowed and saluted. Your Majesty, the Gemini is now in ruins. These slaves launched a riot, and they should all be killed, but that would damage Your Majesty's reputation. My idea is that, since it has come to this, it is better to take advantage of the situation and let those slaves work for us. The riot of these slaves is nothing more than seeking a way out. For human beings, if there is a way out, and a little hope, they will work hard. In recent years, the Tequila family on Gemini has indeed been a little too arrogant. These slaves found that no matter how hard they worked, they could not escape the fate of becoming raw materials for the Tequila family's factory. Therefore, it is understandable that they would fight back once they had the chance. Now Your Majesty can completely ignore Gemini. After all, they have limited resources. Once the food and supplies stored on Gemini are scarce, Gemini will become a hell on earth again. Slaves will kill each other for survival resources. This is a bad nature of human beings. Our specific approach is that after General Andrei gained control of the space station, he sent flying mechas and airplanes to distribute leaflets everywhere. The central optical computer of Gemini can also issue announcement information. The specific content of the announcement information is that these slaves can choose to join the army of the Northern Empire or join the factory to work in exchange for a bite of food. Their previous crimes can be forgiven. My Northern Empire temporarily grants them the status of free people. For those who refuse to obey, let them fend for themselves on Gemini. Anyway, no matter how united they are now, as long as they see that others have food to eat, while they can only wait to die in hunger and chaos, I think they will make the right choice. Those war slaves are very good soldiers, and other slaves are very good workers. They can endure more hardships than ordinary workers. Nicholas nodded slowly. Yes, recycling is a good idea, but I'm not willing to accept it. If you do something wrong, you must be punished and pay the price. This is too easy for them. Yuri bowed again. Your Majesty, as the saying goes, it is never too late for a gentleman to take revenge. The top priority now is to deal with the upcoming war. We can secretly mark their origins and their identity information. Wait until the war is over and settle the accounts together. Besides, as the war develops, we still need a lot of cannon fodder to consume the opponent's strength. And these slaves are the best cannon fodder. Okay, let's do it. Yuri, you are indeed my loyal minister. Andre, you go to organize the troops. Nicholas's eyes shot out to cruel rays of light. Yuri showed a smug look and deliberately raised his head to avoid looking at his brother. And Chekhov's eyes flashed with hatred. The brothers wanted to kill each other. Chapter 431. The disaster continues. At this time, Bailey, Korovin had been awakened by Brigadier General Andre's kick. Andre knew that Bailey was completely finished, so he kicked very hard. He also hated Bailey because of Mainkov's death. You know, it is difficult to find a good deputy. Bailey sat on the ground, his eyes were dull, and blood came out of the corner of his mouth. He listened quietly to Nicholas's judgment on his fate. Bailey never thought that, because of his greed, he rashly attacked the Zumo family and ruined the entire Korovin family. Nicholas did not destroy his 9 clans, which was already a mercy outside the law. Nicholas looked at Bailey, furious. This guy is good at flattering and boasting. But this time he ruined his big plan. For the sake of his mother, he couldn't kill him. After all, Bailey is his uncle. But soon, Nicholas came up with a plan. Chekhov, where is Miss Miranda and Miss Esmeralda, the Southern royal family who defected from the Galactic Empire? Now, Your Majesty, Miss Miranda has quietly left and is heading to Siberia with Ambassador Romanek via the Sakhalin system. It is expected to arrive in Siberia in about 15 days. Okay, Chekhov, announce to me at the plenary meeting of the Ministry of Internal Affairs tomorrow that I will marry Miranda in a month. Miss Esmeralda will be my imperial concubine. You go and say hello to her first. I believe she will not refuse. Moreover, as a punishment, I will not marry any woman from the Korovin family while I'm in power. Nicholas said while looking at Bailey Korovin deliberately. The power of this sentence was no less than a sharp knife piercing the heart. Puff. Bailey Korovin spurted out a mouthful of blood and fainted again. He knew that the Korovin family was completely finished now, and at least in the next few decades, there would be no chance of a comeback. As long as Nicholas was in power for one day, their Korovin family would never be able to make a comeback. The night was deep, and the study became quiet. Nicholas went to receive treatment from the medical staff. It had been only 2 months since he last vomited blood, and he had not recovered yet. In addition, he had been overworked recently. If he did not receive proper treatment, his life would be in danger. So after weighing the pros and cons, he accepted a 3-day BO cabin treatment. Bailey was dragged out by the palace guards like a dead dog and thrown outside. Bailey's entourage took him to the hospital for emergency treatment, while Andrei went to gather the troops. Yuri and Chekhov looked at each other with hatred and left. Finally, with the mediation of Nicholas's mother and the joint efforts of those who had nepotism with the Korovin family, the Korovin family was able to preserve 3% of their family's property. Most of them were on Korovin, and the Korovin family only retained 1 manor on Siberia. All other properties were confiscated. 10 days later, the dusty 4th Squadron of the 1st Fleet of the Northern Fleet rushed to Gemini at full speed. The low-level artificial intelligence clone program left by Collis quietly started. It sent a wrong guidance signal to the 4th Squadron of the 1st Fleet of the Northern Fleet. When the fleet was lining up to enter the berth of the space station, the defense weapons of the space station suddenly attacked. A large number of fortress guns, close-range rapid-fire laser guns and countless anti-ship missiles, space torpedoes attacked the defenseless 4th Squadron of the 1st Fleet of the Northern Fleet, and the closest spacecraft was less than 3 kilometers away from the berth. The entire fleet was thrown into chaos by the sudden attack. They had no idea where the enemy attack came from, and the distance between their ships was very small due to the wrong signal guidance. Many warships exploded or disintegrated, affecting the surrounding warships. In the end, only 3 heavy cruisers and 18 medium armored cruisers barely escaped because of the long distance and thick armor. Despite this, these ships were also injured. Even the flagship of the fleet and the fleet commander died in the attack. Brigadier General Andre escaped this disaster because he took 500 mechas of the Snow Demon Knights and 10 large mecha transport ships to the place where the 3 Snow Demon ships were ambushed to investigate the situation. He led the team to Gemini after completing the investigation, but encountered the remnants of the defeated army halfway. After learning the news, Andre gathered the remaining troops and launched a fierce attack on the Gemini space station. In the end, at the cost of losing 2 large spacecraft and 9 medium-sized warships again, he finally gained control of the space station. But at this time, the Gemini space station was already an empty shell, and all the facilities inside were lost. In particular, when all weapon systems were destroyed, the low-level artificial intelligence caused the nuclear fusion device on the space station to overload and explode, paralyzing the entire space station. It also opened all the doors of the space station, and as a result, all the air in the space station escaped into space. Soon, there were few living people on the entire space station. Finally, the low-level artificial intelligence caused the optical brain on the Gemini to overload. After a violent explosion, the optical brain and command and control room of the Gemini were engulfed in flames. No trace was left. Nicholas the Great, who had just come out of the biological treatment cabin a few days ago, learned the news and spit out blood again, then fainted, so he was sent to the biological treatment cabin again. The capital star region of the Galactic Empire, the capital of the Empire, Xia Star, is now in the vortex of the storm. The Ministry of the Interior of the Galactic Empire received instructions from the Royal Elders Council and the Emperor Xia of the Empire to arrest many people. These people are anti-war activists from all walks of life. They include many officials, scholars, public intellectuals, businessmen who funded them, and the media who cheered for them. For a time, the Galactic Empire was surrounded by white terror, arresting people, confiscating homes, exterminating families, quickly sentencing, and quickly executing. For a time, people were in panic. The story started in early March. March is the busiest month for the Galactic Empire royal family because there are many large festivals and anniversaries in this month. For example, the founding of the Galactic Empire, the founding of the army, and the birthday of the first emperor are all in March, and the founding time of the Royal Military Command Academy and the Royal Military Academy are also in March. Moreover, after these activities, a thank you reception or banquet is usually held. The Imperial Elders Council also encouraged the Emperor Kinzile to actively participate in such activities. The Elders Council also spread the word. All ministers strictly ordered their girls to participate in such activities, to create an opportunity, to arrange a chance encounter with the Emperor. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 432 Wrong Encounter. UC. On March 6, 2020, Emperor Xia of the Empire attended the 210th anniversary celebration of the founding of the Imperial Military Command College, and attended the Grand Ball after the celebration. Although the Royal Elders Council arranged many girls for Emperor Xia to meet, most of these girls were excellent and good looking, but Emperor Xia just didn't feel any heartbeat. It was late at night, and the ball was still in progress. Emperor Xia said that he was a little tired and wanted to go to the balcony to get some fresh air. The members of the royal guards were busy nervously. They began to check whether there were any dangerous and suspicious people on the balcony and around the building. After the security check, Emperor Xia walked onto the balcony, left the hustle and bustle of the room, and breathed in the fresh air. He felt refreshed. Emperor Xia was very tired. Originally, he was not ready to be emperor. The previous emperor, Emperor Xinzeng, was in his prime, and it would take decades for him to ascend the throne. Who knew that there would be unpredictable winds and clouds in the sky, and Emperor Xinzeng died an untimely death, forcing him to this position. However, Xia was, after all, a young man in his early 20s, full of vigor and vitality, at the age of yearning for love and pursuing freedom. In the first few months, the grief of losing his father made him overcome human nature. But 3 months later, He was a little tired and bored. Endless work, study, and socializing every day. No time to himself, no friends, no personal privacy. Even his brothers and sisters were not around. They were all busy for the fate of the empire. He didn't even have someone to talk to. A kind of emotion called loneliness was growing in the mind of the young emperor of the empire. At this time, a song came faintly from the distant night sky. Watching the sunset lingering in the sky, reluctant to fall down the mountain. The sky and the earth. All this makes him nostalgic. You will eventually leave. There is no time to say a word. A gust of wind passes by, letting go of the warm hands. So I'm missing you. The sea is waiting for that river. So I'm missing you. In the dream, those hands gently stroked my head. Just like when I was a child, watching the sunset dye the sky red. That was the last attachment. The sky and the earth. I can't forget his company. Not long after you left, the sky was full of stars. They didn't know that they had been reluctant to part. Watching the shooting stars across the sky, I knew that you had gone far away. The long arc was the first ray of missing. This is a traditional folk song from the southern administrative region, singing about a child missing his dead father. Emperor Xia stood there and listened for a long time. He was attracted by the emotions conveyed by the song. It also resonated with him. How could he not miss his father? Emperor Xia followed the sound and found that on another balcony, a beautiful girl was humming alone. The girl was tall, with fair skin and long chestnut hair. Her red lips were as passionate as flames. Her eyes were green like gemstones, and she exuded a charming temperament. Emperor Xia was stunned, his heart was pounding, and the string in his heart was plucked. The girl was Miranda. She was startled by the footsteps. When she turned around, she saw a man looking at her infatuatedly. The man was Xia, the emperor of the Galactic Empire. Miranda's eyes flashed with an imperceptible ecstasy. But soon, she pretended to be terrified. Your Majesty, I have disturbed your Majesty. Please forgive me. Miranda bowed slowly. Her movements were noble and elegant. It can be seen that these movements are already very skilled. They are part of life and are used very naturally. This is a real aristocrat. Miss, please don't say that. I'm being presumptuous. I was attracted by your singing. May I have the honor to know your name? Miranda Esmeralda. Emperor Xia was stunned. Esmeralda was the surname of the royal family in the south. Ms. Miranda, are you from the Southern Administrative District? Yes, Your Majesty. My father is Prince Esmeralda of the Southern Administrative District. He has passed away for many years. I miss him very much. Today is his birthday, so I sang here to commemorate him. I didn't expect to alarm the Emperor. Please don't say that. May I have the honor to invite you to have a drink together? It's a great honor, My Majesty. The two went into the house together, found a separate room, and began to talk about life and ideals. As a prince, Emperor Xia had a strict family education since childhood. Now he was still a novice, and he was no match for a socialite like Miranda. Soon, the two talked about bed. For more than half a month after that, the two were inseparable. They met almost every day, and fooled around together. Xia felt that he couldn't leave this woman. Miranda was very good at dealing with men. He played Xia around, and she began to slowly instill in Xia how pitiful her life was, and how her father and brother were persecuted to death by their enemies. Xia was filled with indignation, and said that he would definitely send the Ministry of the Interior of the Empire to investigate the matter thoroughly and give Miranda justice. Xia also proposed to Miranda, but Miranda said that only after her father's revenge would she consider her lifelong affairs. Emperor Xia gritted his teeth and proposed to the Imperial Elders Council to marry Miranda, and even proposed to make Miranda the queen. Qin Yuanshan, the chief elder of the Imperial Elders Council, convened a special meeting for this purpose. In addition to several elders of the Elders Council, there were also the old Prime Minister N.K., the Imperial Minister of the Interior Dai Yunfei and the Imperial Marshal von Bismarck. Looking at the situation in front of him, Emperor Xia was stunned. It was just a marriage issue, so why did he make such a big fuss? Several boss-level figures in the empire were present. Elder Qin, what are you doing? Xia felt a little guilty. Chapter 433 Rejection. Your Majesty, we are seriously discussing your marriage. You are the monarch of the Galactic Empire. Marriage is not simply a matter for you alone, but a matter for the entire country. So we must treat this issue with caution. From ancient times to the present, countless dynasties have collapsed due to the marriages of emperors, so we must be very cautious. Please understand. Minister De Yunfei, please tell us about the specific situation of Miranda Esmeralda. Qin Yuanshan presided over the meeting. He said to the Minister of the Interior of the Empire. De Yunfei projected Miranda's situation onto the big screen and began to introduce Miranda Esmeralda, 20 years old, is a South Pole star from the Southern Administrative District of the Galactic Empire. Her father is the previous Southern Prince Mechas. Her uncle is the current Southern Prince Milner Esmeralda. 10 years ago, Prince Mechas and his son died in a space traffic accident. Milner Esmeralda then took over as the Southern Prince. The Ministry of the Interior of the Galactic Empire had sent a special task force to investigate the accident. There was indeed something strange about it, but without conclusive evidence, it could only be left unresolved. Later, Miranda Esmeralda and her mother came to Xia and colluded with many princes, ministers, and children of noble families, using their family's power to attack and confront Prince Milner and promote a reinvestigation of Prince Milner. This mother and daughter have a very bad reputation in the circle of imperial princes and nobles, and are famous socialites. Needless to say, Miranda is now a student at the Imperial Military Command Academy. She has changed 15 boyfriends in the past 2 years at school and almost never returns home at night. Moreover, Miranda's purpose in finding a boyfriend is to use the relationship of their families behind them to put pressure on the Southern Administrative Region and deal with Prince Milner. De Yunfei finished speaking and showed a lot of photos and videos. These videos and photos are very unbearable to watch. Everyone and Emperor Qin Zhi frowned after seeing them. Your Majesty, did you know about these things before? Qin Yuanshan asked. Old man, I have no idea. Qin Zhi lowered his head. He was very unwilling to admit this matter, but he knew the ability of the Ministry of the Interior of the Galactic Empire, and they had no reason to lie about this matter again. So, Qin Zhi, you can't marry Miranda now, let alone let her be the queen, even as a princess. But he and I are truly in love. Qin Zhi stood up. Your Majesty, please take a seat. Can you listen to what I have to say? The old Prime Minister Nkei spoke at this time. Old man, please speak. Nkei was highly respected, and Qin Zhi had to give him face. Qin Zhi also trusted and admired Nkei very much. Your Majesty, if this old minister is not mistaken, this is your first love. Emperor Qin Zhi nodded shyly. Prime Minister Nkei continued, everyone sitting here is a veteran, and we all have had our first love. When we were in our first love, we all felt, this girl is my only one, my future partner. But you can ask everyone sitting here, is your final partner the first love? The answer is, no. Your Majesty, you fell in love with Miranda, but does Miranda really love you? Obviously not. She climbed onto your bed, only because you are the Emperor of the Galactic Empire. You have power, and you can use this power to help her avenge. She fell in love with your power. If you were just a child from an ordinary family, do you think Miranda would fall in love with you? Emperor Qin Zhi was deeply silent. He knew the answer clearly, but the truth was so heavy that it hurt him deeply. Prime Minister Nkei continued, we just analyzed it from your personal perspective. Let's analyze it from the perspective of the country. Although Prince Milner does not have a strong armed force, he still has a very high prestige in the entire Southern Administrative Region. Now if you take action against Prince Milner and anger him, the entire Southern Administrative Region will be in chaos. More importantly, the lips and teeth are cold. If you take action against the Prince of the South, what will the Prince of the East and the Prince of the West think? In addition, the Nicholas you are dealing with is the original prince. Is the royal family going to declare war on all the vassal kings? Now that the war is about to start, do you want to set the country's backyard on fire? Qin Zhi stopped talking. Every word of Prime Minister Nkei touched his heart. But he was unwilling to give up Miranda just like that. At this time, Qin Yuanshan spoke. Your Majesty, let's each take a step back. If you really like her, you can let her be your lover now. We, the elders of the royal family, will go and tell her. If she really loves you, she can accept this condition. After the war is over, maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years, if she still loves you, then it is not a bad idea to give her the status of a royal concubine. As for reinvestigating Prince Milner, it is not impossible. When the situation stabilizes after the war, we can restart the secret investigation. Emperor Qin was extremely unhappy, but he could only accept this reality. He was not so stupid as to insist on doing something that everyone opposed, otherwise the elders of the royal family would probably depose him. The next day, Elder Qin Yuanshan secretly found Miranda and told her about this matter. But Miranda cursed Emperor Qin, saying that he was a villain and a coward who would not admit his fault, even after putting on his pants, and then turned around and walked away. She had completely lost her patience when it came to revenge. She had no interest in waiting for 10 years, and besides, youth was her greatest asset. She couldn't afford to wait, and didn't want to wait. Watching the video of Miranda cursing him, Emperor Qin grabbed his hair in pain, and he finally made up his mind that, since there was no fate, they would never have any contact until they died. A few days after this matter was over, another thing that gave him a headache came, that is, the anti-war faction of the Galactic Empire. These people claimed to see through everything and raised anti-war demands for various reasons. Especially during war, both economic development and people's living standards will be affected, leading to dissatisfaction with the government. Chapter 434 Going North. These anti-war activists will then incite and use these people's dissatisfaction to blackmail the government and achieve their ulterior personal goals. Especially in the court, Deputy Foreign Minister Ramanog is the most active. He is the representative of the anti-war forces in the entire Xia Xingchen Star and even the Galactic Empire government. Behind him is a large group of supporters from various industries, many of whom claim to be elites. And Ramanog clamors every day to use negotiations to solve the problems of the Northern Empire. Speaking of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Northern Empire, this is a very tasteless department. After the unification of the Galactic Empire more than 100 years ago, the diplomatic department was a very embarrassing department. There was no big country for them to conduct diplomacy, so the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Galactic Empire also fell into a deserted government office. The usual work of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Galactic Empire is to communicate with the natives of some newly discovered world planets and manage the aliens in the Galactic Empire. Many people jokingly call them alien breeders. As the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ramanog is very unwilling. He wants to use this opportunity to hype himself up, to gain greater political benefits. On the other hand, he also has a special identity. These people started to make trouble from the day the Northern Empire declared war, and later they became more and more violent, forcing Emperor Qin to spend several hours every day to face their questions. Now, Ramanog proposed that he would take a negotiation team to the Northern Empire to negotiate with Mechas on behalf of the Galactic Empire. They wanted to use non-violent negotiations to solve the problems between the two countries. In this regard, K. Marshal von Bismarck and other important officials all sneered at this suggestion. But Emperor Qin was moved. He decided to give it a try. If the negotiation was successful, he would be recorded in the history of the Galactic Empire and become a wise emperor of all ages. Qin Yuanshan, the chief elder of the Galactic Empire Imperial Elders Council, looked at Emperor Qin calmly. Your Majesty, have you really thought about Minister Ramanog's mission to the Northern Empire? Yes, I have made up my mind. Even if it fails, there will be no loss. Your Majesty, it's not that simple. The Empire is likely to be humiliated. Why don't we make a bet? Oh, Chief Elder, how do you want to bet? Emperor Qin was interested. I bet that this meeting will not succeed. If they succeed, I, Prime Minister Anke and Marshal von Bismarck are willing to resign our positions and donate all our property to the national treasury. Emperor Qin was very excited. Although these big families are not as rich as a country, they are almost. More importantly, if these old ministers give up their positions, he can place supporters who are loyal to him. Now these old guys are loyal to the country of the Galactic Empire, not him, the Emperor of the Galactic Empire. Qin Yuanshan continued, if your Majesty loses, you have to allow us to kill a group of people. Of course, this group of people comes from all walks of life, and there are many of them. Emperor Qin frowned. There was a trace of weakness in his character, just like his father. He advocated winning people over with virtue, and opposed fighting and killing, and the use of force. However, Emperor Qin thought about it again and again, and finally approved Romanig's request, and agreed to send a diplomatic mission to contact the Northern Empire to discuss peace talks. Romanig took the initiative to volunteer as the plenipotentiary ambassador of the Galactic Empire. However, no one in the Galactic Empire's top leadership was optimistic about this meeting, because the bottom line of the Galactic Empire was that Nicholas abdicated, disbanded the armed forces and the pseudo-government of the Northern Empire. Just this one point alone, the arrogant Nicholas would not agree. However, in the eyes of those anti-war activists, this was a major victory for them. That night, at the anti-war activists' celebration party, Romanig ran into a girl named Miranda. She was so beautiful and hot, and her 20-year-old young body awakened his nearly 60-year-old body. Looking at the girl's gentle pleasure under him, Romanig felt that his lost youth had returned. But what he didn't know was that the woman under him had been dealing with different men every night since she was 15 years old, studying all kinds of skills to please men. Soon, Romanig also fell in love with her. However, Romanig was very sorry that he would soon leave the Galactic Empire and go to the north, and perhaps he would never come back. It was a bit late to meet such a beauty now, which was really a pity. However, Miranda suddenly proposed to go to the Northern Empire with Romanig and broaden her horizons. Romanig was ecstatic and secretly arranged a secretary for her. Finally, in UC, at the end of April 2020, Romanig, the plenipotentiary minister of the Galactic Empire, came to the Northern Empire on a large spaceship. They met Admiral Sasha, the commander of the 3rd Fleet of the Northern Empire, at the Bunker Star, a major town in the southern part of the Baku starfield. Romanig winked at Sasha, and a team of fully armed soldiers disarmed all of Romanig's guards, and Romanig stepped forward and hugged Sasha tightly. Romanig's entourage was stunned. They didn't know what was going on. Soon, they were taken to a conference room. A person suddenly appeared on the big screen, who was the target of their talks, this time the Emperor of the Northern Empire, Nicholas the Great. Romanig was excited to see that figure. He quickly knelt on the ground and kowtowed. "Your Majesty, I have fulfilled my mission and I'm back to report to your Majesty." Ha ha ha. "But, great. My dear, you have worked hard over the years, and I will definitely reward you handsomely. You will hold a press conference tomorrow, and I will give the Galactic Empire a good slap in the face." Nicholas felt very happy at this moment. He seemed to imagine the faces of Qin and the old guys in the Galactic Empire when they learned the news. At this time, a pretty figure suddenly jumped out from behind Romanig, came to the camera in front of the big screen, and bowed deeply to Nicholas on the screen. "Your Majesty, the great Nicholas, I'm Miranda. Esmeralda pays respect to your Majesty." At this time, the soldiers of the Northern Empire behind them rushed up. They wanted to stop Miranda, but were stopped by Emperor Nicholas. The girl in front of him was simply amazing. Her beauty was no less than Inna's. More importantly, she had an attraction that men could not refuse, the kind of charm that came from her bones. Moreover, her courage was also admired by Emperor Nicholas the Great. "Your Majesty, I'm Miranda Esmeralda. I'm from the royal family of the South, and my father is Prince Mick Esmeralda of the South. 10 years ago, my uncle Milner murdered my father and brother, and he took this opportunity to inherit the title that should have belonged to my brother. The Galactic Empire government, including the two incompetent emperors Qin and Qin Zheng, turned a blind eye to such a cruel thing. My mother and I have been running around in the Galactic Empire for many years, but no one is willing to give us justice. I have heard of your wisdom and bravery, Emperor Nicholas the Great, and I have come to you, hoping that you can give us justice. My mother and I will repay your kindness with gratitude." Chapter 435 Lessons. Emperor Nicholas was overjoyed when he heard Miranda's story. He could make good use of this incident and make a big fuss about it. He could use this incident to severely damage the reputation of the Galactic Empire and, by the way, improve his image and prestige among the people. "Please rest assured, beautiful Miss Miranda, I will do my best to help you get justice. We will hold a grand press conference tomorrow. At the press conference, Ambassador Romanig will denounce the corruption of the Galactic Empire. You can tell the people of the entire galaxy about your tragic experience at the press conference and expose the ugly face of the Galactic Empire royal family. I think as long as the world knows the truth of the matter, your uncle will not be able to live a peaceful life. After the press conference, please come to the Palace of Siberia with Ambassador Romanig. I would like to invite you to dinner. Thank you, Your Majesty. Miranda bowed deeply. The next day, the Northern Empire government held a grand press conference in the capital of the Baku Star region, the Bunker Star, and even some mainstream media reporters from the Galactic Empire were invited. Although the two countries had declared war, Nicholas did not ban the offices of the largest media groups in the Northern Empire. On the contrary, they are strictly controlled. Every 3 days, they have an opportunity to transmit the content that has been strictly reviewed by the Northern Empire Propaganda Department back to the Galactic Empire. Nicholas knows the importance of the media. If the media is used well, it will be a sharp knife in his hand. Of course, if the media to which these reporters belong dare to spread rumors and deliberately distort and discredit the Northern Empire, if the news is fed back to the Northern Empire Ministry of the Interior through spies, these people may go to hell. The press conference was held in the Administrative Government Hall of the Northern Empire Bunker Star on the Star. The Bunker Star produces a kind of rock that is very soft and easy to dig. But once it is calcined at high temperature, it will become the hardest cement. Because the geology is relatively soft and not suitable for building high-rise buildings, the pioneers of the Bunker Star began to ask for space underground. They excavated a large amount of underground space, and the excavated rocks were calcined into hard cement as the walls and domes of the underground space. So this planet was named Bunker Star. The government administration hall of the Bunker Star is also a huge underground building. The press conference began. To everyone's surprise, this press conference was not to promote how the two governments would conduct peace talks, but to drop a big bomb. At the press conference, Mr. Romanig, the plenipotentiary ambassador from the Galactic Empire and the deputy minister of foreign affairs of the Galactic Empire, announced to the media that he was not here for negotiations, but for political asylum. Romanig ignored the facts and boasted at the press conference, describing how the Galactic Empire was perverse, militaristic, and brutally ruled the people. Romanig said that he defected for justice and fairness. He said he was sorry for his wife and children, but for justice, he would rather sacrifice his family. In fact, he was not a noble person at all. His real identity was a spy of the Northern Empire. There are many spy officers who often lurk in local territories for decades. This is the so-called long line fishing for big fish, and they will only be used at the most critical time. Some spy officers even married and had children in enemy-occupied areas, brainwashed their children from an early age, and trained them to become a generation of spies. Romanig is such a person. He is already over 50 years old this year, born and raised in Xia Star. But his parents are both secret spies of the Northern Empire. Such spies are too secretive to be investigated. Similarly, Emperor Nicholas's ambition is not innate. It is also the idea instilled in him by his father. The Northern royal family has long had a rebellious heart. They have been operating for nearly 100 years. Starting from Nicholas's father, a large number of spies have been sent to various parts of the Galactic Empire every year. The number of this group of intelligence personnel is really not small. Most of them are secret spies who have been lurking. In some places, there are even third-generation spies. This Romanig is the second-generation spy sent by the North. The reporters in the audience were stunned, but then there was more explosive news. At the press conference, a stunning beauty named Miranda Esmeralda stood up. She is a Southern royal family, the daughter of the former Prince of the South. She told the media a very miserable story. A girl from the Southern royal family, her father and brother were killed, her family property was taken away, and her uncle usurped the throne. The mother and daughter depended on each other to seek justice in the business and political circles of the Galactic Empire, but what they got in return was indifference and deception. At this time, Emperor Nicholas the Great reached out to her and promised to seek justice for her. The attitudes of the Northern Empire and the Galactic Empire were clearly different. Beautiful girls, especially those with royal princess status, are easily sympathized. For a time, the entire Northern Empire began to denounce the Galactic Empire government. A few hours later, the live video recording of the press conference was transmitted back to the Galactic Empire through special channels. Spies lurking in the Galactic Empire quickly spread the live broadcast of the press conference throughout the galaxy through Skynet. This undoubtedly stirred up a hornet's nest. A high-ranking official of such a level defected and used such a method, and the Galactic Empire was completely unaware. This was a naked slap in the face. The entire Galactic Empire government sent the defector to the North for negotiations like a fool. Countless people denounced the Galactic Empire government and intelligence departments, and even denounced Emperor Qin Zhi for his incompetence. Miranda's experience aroused the sympathy of the people. They demanded that the Galactic Empire disclose the truth about the murder of Mick and his son, and arrest Duke Milner to make him pay for his life. Especially those anti-war activists. They seized this incident and desperately attacked the Galactic Empire government. It was not easy to get a chance to add insult to injury, and those ambitious people would not miss it. That night, on Xian Star, in the conference room of the Galactic Empire Palace, Qin Yuanshan, the Grand Elder of the Imperial Elders Council, N.K., the Prime Minister of the Galactic Empire, De Yunfei, the Minister of the Interior of the Galactic Empire, Feng Bismarck, the Grand Marshal of the Galactic Empire Military, Zhang Chenglong, the 5-star General of the Military Chief of Staff, and Ji Liang's, the newly appointed Minister of Propaganda of the Empire. This Ji Liang's is Ji Youngsu's uncle. After watching the video from the Northern Empire and the protests collected from various places, everyone was silent. They were all thinking about how to settle this matter. Chapter 436 Countermeasures. After a long time, Emperor Qin Zhi stood up and broke the silence. He bowed deeply to the people in the room. My lords, I was wrong. I regret being stubborn. My stupidity and stubbornness hurt the empire. I will definitely learn from my mistakes and never let this happen again. The ministers looked at the emperor, feeling helpless. This is the young man. The young emperor is far inferior to the cunning Nicholas. Your Majesty, then our bet. Qin Yuanshan squinted his eyes and looked at Emperor Qin Zhi in front of him. I'm willing to accept the loss. Qin Zhi was very straightforward. He is not a person who cares about face. In this respect, he is much better than his father, Emperor Qinzheng. After getting the answer he wanted, Qin Yuanshan nodded to the old Prime Minister N.K., who coughed. Let this respected old man teach the emperor a lesson. Your Majesty, no one is perfect. This is the price of being young. This is the tuition fee you pay. Being young is not scary. The most important thing is to learn lessons from it. Your Majesty, do you know where you went wrong in this matter? Please teach me, old man. Emperor Qin Zhi said sincerely. First, you are stubborn and will not listen to any opinions. When it comes to sending envoys, all the people present voted against it, but you insisted on doing it your way. To be honest, in terms of wisdom and strategy, we old foxes in this room are far inferior to Nicholas. Moreover, although we old guys have various problems, we are not confused. Our loyalty to your Majesty and the country is beyond doubt. Everything we do is considered from the perspective of the country. But your Majesty does not believe us, which makes us, as ministers, very disappointed. Second, your Majesty is too easily disturbed and influenced by other voices. Those so-called anti-war people are just a group of selfish ghosts. Your Majesty should not let them influence your thinking. As a mature ruler, you must have your own judgment and persistence. Third, you are too weak. You are a little timid in dealing with opponents. Undoubtedly, this is influenced by the late Emperor Qin Zhi. The late emperor was too weak, which led to Nicholas's rise. For some things that threaten the empire, you should cut the grass and root them out as soon as there are signs. In short, this is what I want to say, but wrong judgments are caused by a variety of reasons, and the rest needs to be summarized and evaluated by your Majesty yourself. Thank you for your guidance, old man. So what should we do next to eliminate the impact of this incident? Please teach me. Prime Minister N.K. stroked his long grey beard. Since your Majesty has asked this, I will make a few remarks here to start a discussion. Please help me add to the discussion. First of all, this is a war of public opinion. The propaganda department must speak out. We cannot remain silent, otherwise some people will think that we have something to hide. We must immediately characterize this matter as a serious act of treason and tell all the people the seriousness of this matter. Regardless of who is right or wrong, the behavior of these two people is treason. The intelligence departments must actively cooperate to find the misdeeds and crimes of these two people and make them public. I believe that the people will not believe people with bad deeds. In addition, the propaganda department must strictly control the media. Those media with incorrect values must be banned. Those who refuse to change their ways and those who privately publish incitement and rumors must be intervened by the Ministry of the Interior. Arrest those who should be arrested and kill those who should be killed. As for the case of Prince Milner, please ask the Imperial Ministry of the Interior to publish the investigation report of that year. Just say that there was no conclusive evidence at the time. Then we can actively mobilize the people to provide clues and show that our government attaches great importance to this matter. Okay, let's do it this way. I'll leave this matter to Lord Ji Liangs and Lord De Yunfei. After listening to NK's solution, Qin Zhi couldn't help but admire that the old ones were still the best. This step-by-step approach was thorough and watertight. Prime Minister NK picked up a cup in front of him and took a sip of water. In the final analysis, this incident was caused by those ambitious anti-war activists. They talk about righteousness, justice and morality, but they are actually thinking about how to gain more personal benefits from this war. To deal with people like them, Your Majesty will have to fulfill your bet. What do you mean? These anti-war activists must be killed indiscriminately, even if heads roll and blood flows like a river. The Ministry of the Interior can set up a special investigation team and start arresting people, confiscate homes and exterminate families. All organizations and individuals related to the anti-war activists will be treated as Romanig's accomplices. For those scholars and officials who hold anti-war views, they will all be removed from the civil service. It is better to kill someone by mistake than to let them go. Old Day, you are going to be infamous again. Haha, there are more lice than bites. My hands are already stained with blood. As long as I can keep the empire safe, I'm willing to go to hell. De Yunfei is very open-minded. Prime Minister Anke continued, then we need to find a way to deal with Ramanig and Miranda. I suggest arresting all their families. Search their homes. Old man, they look like victims too. Being abandoned by their families is bad enough. Isn't it a bit cruel for us to attack these poor people? Emperor Qin Zhi felt a little bit sorry. In fact, he still had feelings for Miranda. Your Majesty, you still don't understand. At this time, Marshal von Bismarck, who had been sitting on the side and had not spoken, spoke up. This is a war, Your Majesty, a war of life and death. If you don't severely punish their families, more Romanig will follow suit. We must let everyone see that, if they dare to betray the country, they will be in trouble. Not only will they themselves be punished, but their families will also be punished. Only in this way can we deter these villains. In addition, we can offer a large reward for these two people. We don't ask for them to be captured alive, even if we kill them, but we must let people see our determination. Then can we also send agents to kill them? Emperor Qin Zhi suddenly had an idea. De Yunfei wanted to say something but couldn't. Anke laughed at De Yunfei's expression. Old Day, let me help you explain this to His Majesty. Your Majesty, you think too simply. Although assassinating those two people is a very embarrassing thing for the Northern Empire, at the same time, the other party must have thought of what you can think of. Now Ramanig and Miranda must have been surrounded by a net of heaven and earth, just waiting for our intelligence personnel to rush in. We can't do such a stupid thing. Qin Zhi looked embarrassed again after hearing this. He took it for granted again. Chapter 437 Proposal. Northern Empire, Baku Star Region. As soon as the press conference ended, Ramanig and Miranda quickly changed their clothes, disguised themselves, and went to the military headquarters of the Bunker Star through a secret passage. There, the two quickly took a shuttle to space. There is a Julio-class medium-sized space cruiser ready to go. This cruiser is the private spaceship of Admiral Sasha of the 3rd Fleet. After boarding the ship, the two secretly set off for the Sakhalin Star region, and then took the route to Siberia Star from there. The purpose of this is to conceal their tracks, protect the safety of the two of them. The two people who are now in the local space hotel are intelligence personnel from the Ministry of the Interior of the Northern Empire. There are a large number of specialized intelligence personnel among them who are carefully on guard, and they have laid a net. The two of them played a trick of escaping. General Sasha's medium-sized spaceship is his flagship, which belongs to the Julio-class medium-sized high-speed mecha cruiser. There are 15 mechas on the spaceship to protect the safety of the spaceship, and the facilities inside the spaceship are very advanced. The cabin decoration is luxurious and comfortable. 5 days later, the spacecraft flew to the wormhole CBS-003 between the Baku starfield and the Sakhalin starfield. Here they connected to the local area network of the Northern Empire. Suddenly, a communication from Siberia was connected to the cabin where Miranda was. At this time, in addition to Miranda, Ambassador Romanog was also in the cabin. After arriving at the territory of the Northern Empire, Miranda seemed to have changed. She was unwilling to pay attention to Romanog. Now that she had Nicholas's support, she naturally did not take Romanog seriously. For Miranda, men were just tools. And Romanog, the old pervert, was greedy. He would pester Miranda for sex at any time. Miranda was really annoyed by him, so she stayed with him for another night. Who knew that the old guy would go too far and continue to pester him? At this time, he was still teasing Miranda and suddenly saw the communication coming, and Romanog quickly sat up straight. The communication was connected, and a man with a gloomy expression appeared on the big screen. Miss Miranda, I'm Chekhov, the Minister of the Interior of the Northern Empire. I have been entrusted by His Majesty Nicholas to ask for your opinion on an important matter. Master Chekhov, you are too kind. Your Majesty, please tell me what you need me to do. Seeing this, Romanog hurriedly stood up and left. Seeing his look, Chekhov obviously had something to hide. And Chekhov knew very well why Romanog was here. The information about him and Miranda had been on Chekhov's desk for a long time. Mr. Romanog, it's a good thing that you are here. You can listen to it too. There is no need to hide this matter from you. You will know it sooner or later. Yes, Master Chekhov. Romanog was silent and stayed aside like a pug. He had heard of Chekhov's bad reputation. This guy ranked in the top 3 in the Northern Empire government. He was the real powerful puppet, second only to the Emperor. Even the commanders of the fleets did not dare to confront him. Miss Miranda, when His Majesty Nicholas spoke to you on the phone that day, he was moved by your righteous act of seeking justice for his father and brother without fear of hardship. In addition, Miss Miranda's beauty and dignity also left a deep impression on His Majesty. His Majesty Nicholas can't forget you. His Majesty told me that, if you are willing, His Majesty wants to marry you as the Princess of the Northern Empire. I wonder what you think, Ms. Miranda? You know, His Majesty is now in his prime, but he is not addicted to women, and there are very few women who can impress him. If you become a princess, you will most likely become the Queen of the Northern Empire. After our Northern Empire defeats the Galactic Empire, you will be the princess of the entire Milky Way. What do you think? Miranda was stunned by this huge pie. She is a woman who is willing to give up everything. If she has such an opportunity to climb to the position of queen, she will really die without regrets in the future. Not to mention the matter of helping her father and brother to avenge. She failed to become King Zhi's princess, but became Nicholas' queen. It was really fate. This made her eyes burst into tears. I do, Lord Chekhov. Please tell His Majesty that I'm willing to accompany His Majesty for the rest of my life, to repay His Majesty's love and kindness. In addition, I will not forget the kindness of Lord Chekhov. Chekhov nodded with satisfaction. This woman is very capable and smart. It is worry-free to cooperate with such a person. Romanog, who was sitting on the side and listening, was sweating profusely. Nicholas is a very petty person. Although on the surface the media promotes him as a monarch with a nearly perfect image, in fact he is a cunning, cruel guy with a strong desire for control and revenge. Chekhov looked at Romanog and sneered. Mr. Romanog, did you hear what I said just now? Yes, sir, I heard everything. I'm very happy for Ms. Miranda. Romanog said tremblingly. You brought Ms. Miranda to the Northern Empire. You are a meritorious official. His Majesty will definitely reward you and give you a high position and generous salary. However, I must remind you that this is the Northern Empire. There are some things you cannot do and some words you cannot say. You understand? No matter what happened in the past, don't do things that will make His Majesty Nicholas angry. If His Majesty hears something inappropriate, you know the consequences. Romanek's back was soaked. He could only nod his head continuously, like a praying mantis. He knew that, as long as Miranda's mouth tilted in front of Chekhov's eyes, he would end up with his head falling off. He could imagine how miserable it would be to cuckold Nicholas. But neither he nor Chekhov expected that Xia Xingchen had already put a big green hat on Nicholas' head. Ms. Miranda, if you have no objection, I will announce the news immediately. When you arrive at Siberia in 2 weeks, your wedding with His Majesty will be held immediately. However, due to safety considerations, you and Mr. Romanek will stay on the spacecraft as much as possible for the next half month. Miranda bowed deeply and said, "It's all up to Lord Chekhov to arrange." Chekhov looked at Romanek meaningfully and cut off the communication. "Ms. Miranda, congratulations," Romanek said guiltily. "Mr. Romanek, I'm very grateful for your help to where I'm today. I will never forget your kindness, and I will naturally say a few good words for you in front of His Majesty. Since we are now in a new place and on a new road, no matter what unpleasant things happened in the past, we will put it behind us. In the future, we will still be good friends. What do you think?" "As you wish, Ms. Miranda." "Oh no, Her Majesty the Queen." A few hours later, the news that Emperor Nicholas the Great was going to marry Miranda spread throughout the Milky Way. In the palace of the Galactic Empire on Cheyenne Star, Emperor Kinzhi broke the golden pen in his hand, and blood gushed out from between his fingers. "Nicholas, Miranda, you two bastards, I will not let you go." Chapter 438 The Seven Pharaohs of the Past. In space, 2 spaceships were flying steadily. The one in the front was a small high-speed spaceship Evil Thoughts which was completely controlled by robots. The Count Dracula followed far behind at a distance of 5,000 meters. In just over a week, the Evil Thoughts was attacked by several waves of smugglers. But what made them desperate was that there were 3 mechas on the Evil Thoughts. Under Carlos' control, the combat power of these 3 mechas was comparable to that of 3 SEAL-level mecha divisions. There were also 20 combat robots in the spaceship. Not only did these spaceships fail to rob, but they were robbed of goods and living supplies by Xia Xingchen and his men. Xia Xingchen even took away the nuclear fusion fuel rods of their spaceships, because Carlos' energy consumption was too high recently. As for these spaceships that were robbed of all supplies, Xia Xingchen only left them a small amount of food. As for whether they could survive, it was up to fate. Their best fate was to be eaten by the next wave of black-eating black merchants, leaving the spaceships behind and selling the people to slave traders. Carlos copied 2 low-level artificial intelligences to control the 2 spacecraft respectively. Then, as long as he could connect to the Northern Empire's local area network, Carlos invested almost 98% of his computing resources in the Northern Empire's Skynet. His main target this time was all the large optical computers and network servers in the Baku starfield. Of course, they also saw relevant reports about the defection of Romanek and Miranda, which had been spreading throughout the galaxy in recent days. After dinner that day, everyone was in the living room watching the news reports of the Northern Empire in recent days. Everyone gnashed their teeth at Romanek's behavior. As for Miranda, everyone had different opinions. Some people thought she was pitiful, and some people thought she was too paranoid. But later, when everyone saw the report that she was going to marry Nicholas as a princess, everyone's opinion of her was unified. Xia Xingchen sighed at this. "Hey, R-Crossing, this Miranda and you are both from the Galactic Empire Military Command Academy. Wasn't she called the 7 Pharaohs of the Imperial Military Command Academy back then? What do you think of her? What do the other 6 girls look like?" Keeley asked curiously. Xia Xingchen smiled helplessly and projected a document from his personal terminal. "I have seen this Miranda several times. She is a natural beauty and has a fatal attraction to men. I copied this document from the forum of the Imperial Military Command Academy. It details the 7 pharaohs of our academy at that time. This Angelica is a Siberian star, a cold and powerful beautiful mecha master. She was the head of the infiltration organization of the Northern Empire Army lurking inside the Imperial Military Command Academy at that time. She should be a C-class mecha master and is very powerful. Later, She planned the attack on the Imperial military headquarters. When the military held a ceremony to confer titles on generals, she almost wiped out the entire high-level generals of the Galactic Empire military. As a result, she was stopped by the S-class Mecha Master General von Riddle. I killed her when she was escaping. It was also because of her stupid actions that the entire empire was united in hatred of the enemy and the war was advanced by 2 years. At this point, the eyes of several girls in the room lit up. Although Angelica is a villain, her experience is indeed legendary. Several girls admired her. Zhang Yingying, from Xia Xingchen, is a little princess with both beauty and wisdom. Her grandfather is the 5-star Admiral Zhang Chenglong of the Galactic Empire military, and her father is Admiral Zhang Yuan, commander of the First Fleet of the Galactic Empire. Yingying has been very interested in combat command since she was a child, and she is incredibly talented. She is the best tactical commander among her peers that I have ever met. She once went on an adventure with me in the Death Star region, and is my good friend. Now she is the combat commander of the Starfleet of the Princess Knights. Nina looked at Xia Xingchen very seriously. The woman's delicate mind made her keenly aware that Zhang Yingying and Xia Xingchen had a special relationship. Xia Xingchen continued to introduce Li Qiaru, from Chang'an Star, is a beautiful mecha designer with a perfect figure, and the little princess of the Tang Dynasty group. She is a genius mecha designer, and has her own personal mecha design brand. Her brother Li Xiaomin is a good brother in our dormitory. In my mecha repair shop, both brother and sister have shares. They are both my good friends. Another good friend. Nina muttered to herself, while Alessa was envious of Li Qiaru's figure. Yao Yi, a Xia Xingchen, is a real white, rich and beautiful girl. She is the daughter of Xia Xingchen, the Minister of Finance of the Galactic Empire. She has an amazing talent in business. She is also the girlfriend of my good brother Hans. Granted. At this point, Xia Xingchen thought of the little fat man far away in the Eastern Administrative District. Ji Yuntu, an earthling, a dignified and elegant intellectual beauty. The granddaughter of Ji Leo, a master of galactic literature from Earth. She has a very charming temperament, like a fairy. She is the fiancée of my good friend Dayren. Originally, Nina felt sour when she heard Xia Xingchen's description of Ji Yuntu, but she was relieved when she heard the last sentence. This girl is Zuo King's sister, a Chang'an Star, a quirky and talented beautiful girl. She is only a year older than Alessa, and her grandfather is a master in mecha design, Mr. Zuo Liheng, the chief mecha designer of the Tang Dynasty group. This little girl is a little witch. She has a princess guard with a large number of sweeties at school. The naughty things she did were much more naughty than Alessa. Alessa smiled. I really want to meet this big sister. There will be a chance. Xia Xingchen continued. The last one is Miranda. Esmeralda, the goddess of vengeance from the Southern royal family. She is actually a very pitiful person. But she defected and married Nicholas. I cannot forgive this treasonous act. The above 7 people are called the 7 Pharaohs of the Imperial Military Command Academy. Isn't it very distinctive? Axing, how many of these 7 beauties have a special relationship with you? Nina lazily hugged Xia Xingchen like a koala. Xia Xingchen was embarrassed and didn't speak. Dear, why don't you speak? An excellent man, like you is like a candle in the dark. I don't know how many girls will foolishly rush to you like moths to a flame. Nina's words resonated with everyone, and everyone laughed. Xia Xingchen slapped Nina on the butt and pretended to be vicious. Girl, wait and see how I deal with you tonight. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 439 Major Breakthrough. Night fell. Of course, this night was adjusted by the central optical computer on the spacecraft according to the biological clock suitable for humans. Nina dragged Xia Xingchen to an unmanned cabin. She was bored by accompanying Alessa every day these days. She finally felt jealous when she heard Xia Xingchen describe several excellent girls like that. After a few hours of fierce battle, Nina fell asleep happily. Xia Xingchen got up carefully, took a shower, and then went to the cockpit. Here, only Colossus and his robots were on duty. Xia Xingchen came to visit Carlos specially. This guy's like a human now. Humans are afraid of loneliness, and it is also very afraid of loneliness now. Even if he is very busy now, he will feel such emotions. Carlos was very happy with Xia Xingchen's arrival. Xingchen, you came at the right time. I have a major breakthrough and I want to share it with you. Carlos showed a proud smile on his face. Let me guess. Have you completely mastered all the optical computers and networks in the Baku starfield? Xia Xingchen said. No, it's too early. If I can upgrade, I can take over all the optical computers in the entire Northern Empire in such a long time. But my operating resources are limited now. It greatly affects my operating speed. Carlos, if I get a few large optical computers in, can they share some of the calculations? No. Carlos shook his head. With your human optical computer technology, that little computing resource is simply a drop in the bucket. Those planet-level super optical computers are about the same. But such a super optical computer cannot be placed in either your portable mecha space or my artificial intelligence space. What a pity. Is there really no way? Let me think about it. The signal lights on Carlos' body all flashed. After more than 10 minutes, Carlos suddenly slapped his thigh, making a bang sound, which scared Xia Xingchen. There is a way, Xingchen. Carlos said, and sent a blueprint directly to Xia Xingchen's mind. On the blueprint was a machine device that was about the same size as Carlos's body, in the shape of a cylinder. This is the previous generation product before my body was produced. Its performance, that is, the amount of computing, is 1/5 of my body. As long as we have the raw materials, we can make countless units, connect them in parallel with my body, and let them share my computing pressure. Xia Xingchen's eyes lit up when he heard this. He carefully studied the equipment in front of him, but soon he smiled bitterly. Carlos, my friend, do you have any other plans? Your plan is not bad, but we can't find these materials at all. Not only the Northern Empire can't find them, but even the entire Galactic Empire has difficulty finding these raw materials. Do you have any other plans? For example, redesign this device. It doesn't require the same performance as it. It doesn't matter if the computing power is slightly worse, the size is larger, or even the energy consumption is a little higher, but the only requirement is that the materials must be easy to find. I suggest you search online trading platforms of the planets we are about to arrive at, or even the black market network, and use the materials that can be bought there to design. You know, no matter how exquisite your design is, if we don't have the materials, we can't make it. This is the saying that a good cook cannot cook without rice. Carlos thought for a while and said, you are right. I will redesign it. After a period of intense CPU burning calculations, a new drawing appeared in front of Xia Xingchen. This is a large device with a length of 3 meters, a width of 2.8 meters, and a height of 2.8 meters. It is just big enough to fit into the small grid of the artificial intelligence space. Xia Xingchen confidently studied its performance parameters. Each such device can provide Carlos with 1/10 of the computing power of the main body. However, this thing also consumes a lot of energy. Every 5 units need a small nuclear fusion engine used by the spacecraft to power it, and the energy consumption is not low. A complete nuclear fusion fuel rod can only be used for 10 days. Xia Xingchen had the idea of robbing other spacecrafts again. Fortunately, most of the materials needed on it are very familiar to Xia Xingchen. Yes, this is it. We will purchase materials as soon as we arrive at Blohinsk. You keep a close eye on them along the way. If anyone is so foolish as to rob our spaceship, or the Northern Empire's official spaceship, the military's cargo spaceship, etc., as long as the difference in strength is not too great, we will go up and beat him to death. Yes, beat him to death. Dismantle the nuclear fusion engine, and take away the nuclear fusion fuel and the optical computer on the spaceship. Carlos seemed to like this bandit-like style. His blood boiled immediately. Oh, it was the CPU temperature that suddenly rose. Hey, Carlos, what about that major breakthrough you just mentioned? Xia Xingchen then remembered what happened just now. It's like this, Xingchen. I have taken control of the central optical computer and the entire network of Bunker Star, an important city in the Baku starfield. I found a server on Bunker Star. This server belongs to the Ministry of the Interior of the Northern Empire. Now many major media outlets of the Galactic Empire have set up offices in the Northern Empire. Although Nicholas did not abolish these offices, the news they publish is strictly controlled. Every day, their various media transmit news from all over the Northern Empire through the local area network to this server. Then the review department composed of the Ministry of the Interior and the Propaganda Department of the Northern Empire will review and modify the content of the news reports. Then every 3 days, these reviewed and revised manuscripts will be transmitted to the network of the Galactic Empire through the space router in one direction. Sometimes there are major emergencies, and news will be sent over at irregular intervals. Then what? There is only one server. Carlos hurriedly explained. First of all, we can use this server to summarize the news sent from all over the north. Although the content of these news has been greatly modified, but there are still many clues from them. I can even track the source of these news, invade the central optical computers of those media and even the personal terminals of reporters. The most important point is that we can use this channel to pass messages to the Galactic Empire. Chapter 440, Harassment of Evil Thoughts. Carlos excitedly told Xia Xingchen that he had captured a large data server belonging to the Ministry of the Interior of the Northern Empire in the local area network of the Baku starfield of the Northern Empire. It was a large optical computer. This server aggregated news reports from media outlets across the Northern Empire. The Ministry of the Interior of the Northern Empire would review these reports, make some appropriate modifications, and then regularly send these news reports to the Galactic Empire through space routers. In addition to providing intelligence from all over the Northern Empire, the greatest significance of capturing this server was that Carlos could use it to send messages to the Skynet of the Galactic Empire. Great, Carlos, how should this be done specifically? Xia Xingchen asked. It's super easy. You just need to give me the communication number of the recipient's personal terminal. I can re-encode our intelligence in the form of a data stream, mix it in these news reports, and send it out. When they are transmitted to the Skynet of the Northern Empire, I will reassemble and encode it into intelligence, and send it to the recipient's mailbox. I can even copy a low-level artificial intelligence clone, disassemble it into garbled code, and send it out in multiple times, so that it can work in the Galactic Empire's network first. Once we find the space router that transmits messages to the Northern Empire, we can get the news from there. Carlos explained. Great, Carlos. Keela and I will start to summarize the intelligence right away, and you send your clone program over there first. We must establish contact with the Empire as soon as possible. Don't worry, leave these things to me. The two spaceships flew in space again, one after the other. Originally, they took very remote routes, trying to avoid contact with other spaceships. But after Carlos and Xia Xingchen determined the manufacturing plan for the auxiliary equipment, Carlos took the initiative to search for other spaceships like crazy. But it was really lucky. Those smugglers really couldn't stand the test. In fact, if they were not greedy and didn't have crooked ideas about the lonely evil thought, they wouldn't have suffered. Carlos and Xia Xingchen were never polite to those who had bad intentions. For these smugglers, the Mecha division on the Count Dracula was absolutely invincible. And as long as Carlos got close, he would soon control the central control optical computer of the other spaceship, and they would even find it difficult to protect themselves. After destroying the opponent's mecha and controlling the opponent's optical computer, Carlos controlled dozens of robots to rush into the opponent's spaceship like wolves and tigers. The brutal demolition work began. The central optical computer on the spacecraft. Dismantle it. There is a small nuclear fusion engine here. What? 2. Dismantle them all. There are materials on Colossus list on the accessories there. Dismantle them. There are 6 relatively new nuclear fuel rods in the spacecraft engine. Dismantle them. What? There are 5 Space Knight mechas there? Call Xia Xingchen and him. Dismantle the mecha into small parts and put them all into the small box in the artificial intelligence space. In addition, the goods, food, spare nuclear fusion fuel rods for spacecraft, some weapons and equipment, and luxury goods in the cargo hold, all packed up and taken away. The captains of the robbed spacecraft looked at the people in front of them, as if they had seen a ghost, and they dismantled their spacecraft into pieces and left. Xia Xingchen didn't even leave them food and drinking water, just let them fend for themselves. Anyway, these people are not good people. A day later, the alarm on the Count Dracula sounded again. Xingchen, the distance ahead of the evil mind is 11,000, and a Julio-class medium-sized high-speed cruiser marked by the Northern Empire military has been discovered. Carlos reported on the ship's radio. Xia Xingchen and others came to the cockpit. Julio-class? Captain Bielsa frowned. This kind of high-speed medium-sized warship is rare in the Northern Empire's fleet. How could we encounter such a spaceship here? It's a bit strange. The other party sent a communication to the evil thoughts, asking the evil thoughts to give way. Carlos said, in the entire galactic empire, civilian spacecraft must actively give way according to the other party's requirements when encountering warships in space. This is a common practice in space navigation. Otherwise, it's okay to destroy you when dealing with warships. I checked the other party's identification code. This is a private spaceship belonging to Admiral Sasha of the 3rd Fleet of the Northern Empire. Our crossing. Let's take him down. If we kill an admiral, we will be famous forever. Xia Xingchen found that this artificial intelligence has the tendency to evolve into a bandit. Carlos, is it safe here? This place is far away from the main channel, and there is no way to connect to the land signal, and all information cannot be sent out. There are no other spacecraft around, so it's a good place to kill, burn and rob. Issue a level 1 combat alert. Everyone, this is going to be a tough battle. Xia Xingchen ordered. Engine power 50%, all Mirage systems activated, all weapon systems charged, and mecha divisions on standby. The Count Dracula reduced its speed and hid the hull in the shadows in space. Carlos controlled the evil mind and rushed straight to the Julio-class medium cruiser. The alarm on the Julio-class cruiser was loud at this time. The captain, Lieutenant Colonel Keen, was in his 40s, young and experienced. He was a confidant of Admiral Sasha, and Admiral Sasha trusted and valued him very much. Although his official position was only at the level of lieutenant colonel, his income in the Northern Empire was almost catching up with that of a major general. Admiral Sasha made special instructions for this mission. This was a top secret mission, to escort 2 big figures to Siberia. Only he knew the true identities of these 2 people: Romanig, the former Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Galactic Empire who defected to the Northern Empire, and Miranda, the future princess of Emperor Nicholas the Great. Esmeralda. This is also a good job. If he has a good relationship with these 2 people, they will take good care of him if they become successful in the future. Lieutenant Colonel Keen knows the importance of this operation. In order to keep it secret, Admiral Sasha decided to let Captain Keen carry out this task at the last minute. He has great confidence in Captain Keen's professional ability. The most important thing is that this mission is a top secret operation. Only the people on his ship know everything and will not leak the secret. In order to keep it secret, Admiral Sasha also specifically told Captain Keen to choose his own route, turn off the Skynet positioning and tracking system, and try not to contact the outside world. The journey was calm and smooth. After all, they were warships, and there was a logo of the Northern 3rd Fleet on the outside of the spacecraft. If they did not give way to civilian ships, they even had the right to destroy them. In the territory of the Northern Empire, no force dared to stop warships. Of course, the Xiumo family was an exception. And in front of him, the spaceship did not give way at all, which made Captain Keen very unhappy. The weapon system is charged, and all mechas are on standby. Destroyed directly when it enters the main gun range. Kill that damn bug. Captain Keen gave the order. Seeing that the enemy's small spaceship was less than 600 kilometers away from the Julio-class battleship, the small spaceship suddenly turned and flew to the left front of the Julio-class. They avoided it. Captain, what should we do? Keen thought for a while. We continue to move forward, and the secondary gun turrets are on alert. Captain, the small spaceship turned around and flew back, following us. Quickly adjust the attitude of the spaceship and prepare to meet the enemy. Captain, the attitude adjustment is completed, but the opponent's spaceship also turned, and they have been controlling the distance outside the effective range. Chapter 441, Pressing Forward Step by Step. in the Milky Way, in the Northern Empire, in the space not far from the NKS-003 wormhole connecting the Sakhalin starfield and the Baku starfield, the Julio-class medium cruiser that was secretly heading to Siberia to perform an escort mission was harassed by the small high-speed spacecraft Malevolence. Captain Keen was so angry that his teeth were itching. This damn small spaceship in front of him was extremely fast and flexible in turning. It had been hovering about 600 kilometers away from the Julio class, harassing. This distance was beyond the range of the battleship's main guns, and it couldn't reach the other party even if it fired. The Julio class wanted to leave at high speed to get rid of it, so they followed far behind and tried to approach from the back little by little. Damn it, I can't stand it anymore. The spacecraft turned around, the Mechas were dispatched, and they killed them. Captain Keen was angry. At this time, 1,000 kilometers away, the Count Dracula turned off the thrusters and ambushed there quietly. Several Mirage systems were fully turned on, bringing powerful stealth capabilities. Now, they were like fishermen fishing. The Malevolence was the bait, and the Julio was the big fish. Attention, 1,000 meters from the scheduled attack position, 300 meters from the scheduled attack position, the enemy spacecraft has reached the scheduled attack position. Main guns number 1 and number 2 fire, aim, and shoot. Hit their main thrusters. Mechas are ready to go. Captain Bielsa ordered. 4 lasers accurately shot at the Julio's thrusters. After a violent explosion, Captain Keen, who was not sitting in the captain's seat and fastened his seatbelt, was thrown to the ground. He climbed up awkwardly, and blood flowed from his forehead because he hit the operating table. What's going on? Report to the captain. We were attacked by an unknown enemy ship, and the tail thruster was hit by a heavy laser and was completely damaged. Now only the auxiliary thruster can work, and the power output capacity is 3%. Captain, something bad has happened. An unknown medium-sized warship and 2 Mechas appeared at 14.69.85 and 450 meters behind the side of the spacecraft. Another pilot shouted. The light shield system of the warship is fully activated. All Mechas are dispatched to kill them first. There are a total of 15 Mechas on the Julio class. Among them, 10 Flying Wolf Mechas and 5 Space Knight Mechas are all used in space battles. The Count Dracula on the opposite side only dispatched 2 Mechas. Xia Xingchen's Revenge Knight Mecha landed on the top of the Count Dracula, fixed the Mecha, and set up the Mecha laser rifle. Nina, give me the 5 Space Knight Mechas. You try to control the intensity and attack position of the lightning. Try not to cause the batteries and engines of the opponent's Airwolf Mechas to burn out. Try to attack the pilots and electrical components. I want to capture a few Airwolves for my own use. As soon as Xia Xingchen finished speaking, he pulled the trigger repeatedly. In less than 5 seconds, 5 orange-yellow lasers poured out, and 5 bright flames exploded in the space. Captain Keen's face was pale. The 15 Mecha divisions on his ship were all D-class Mecha divisions selected from the frontline troops. They were all very experienced in actual combat. In just a short moment, 5 excellent Mecha divisions were gone in a daze. He had a premonition that the situation was not good and that the comer was not friendly. But it was not only Captain Keen who had a pale face at this time. Miranda and Romanig, who were in their rooms, had the same look. They didn't know why such a bad thing happened, whether it was an accident or revenge. It's just that the two of them are now vaguely regretful. Maybe if they stay in the Galactic Empire honestly now, they won't encounter such danger. Nina listened to Xia Xingchen's advice and her eyes lit up. She used to be a violent girl, always pursuing the ultimate output of electricity, and every time she had to burn her opponents. But Xia Xingchen gave her a brand new idea, which was to control electricity. She agreed, stepped on the accelerator pedal, and the Mecha rushed up at high speed. This time, Nina was very careful to control the current. This time, the current intensity she used was only 30% of the usual, and she was very careful to control the lightning to attack the cockpit and head of the opponent's Flying Wolf Mecha. The result was unexpectedly good. In less than a minute, 10 Flying Wolf Mechas were motionless in space. Captain Keen was immediately panicked. They now had no ability to escape, and they had no power to fight back. If things were really impossible, he could only choose the most extreme means, self-destruction. At this time, the spacecraft pilot reminded him that someone had sent a communication request on the public communication channel. He connected the communication. A man with black hair and black eyes appeared on the video. He held a goblet in his hand, which contained red wine that looked like blood. Humph, playing tricks. Who are you? Don't you know the consequences of attacking the warships of the Northern Empire? Captain Keen was very angry. The black-robed man opposite laughed. Who am I? I'm the great vampire king, Count Dracula. How dare you, mortals, offend me? Who are you to speak to me like that? I'm Captain Keen of the Northern Empire's 3rd Fleet. I advise you to leave immediately. Our reinforcement will arrive soon. They have already known the news. Ha 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 ha. I have lived for thousands of years. Do you still think I'm a child? There is no Skynet signal within tens of millions of kilometers, and no other spacecraft will approach within 10 hours. Reinforcement? Who are you trying to scare? Count Dracula looked at Captain Keen jokingly, and his eyes seemed to be able to see through the screen, to see the other's heart. What do you want? Captain Keen's back was wet. He didn't have any trump cards in his hand now, and in the eyes of the other party, he didn't even have any secrets. Stop the ship and accept our inspection. In addition, what valuables do you have on board? Hand them over. What valuables are on our warship? Even the mechas have been destroyed by you. What else do you want? Nothing. Count Dracula squinted his eyes. If there is nothing, people will do. For example, beauties. The blood of virgins is the most delicious. Carlos found 2 very special targets in the cabin when he scanned the spacecraft just now. What beauties? We are all soldiers on board, and there is no one you want. Captain Keen's expression was a little flustered. Could it be that the other party already knew something? He would not dare to hand over Miranda, even if he was beaten to death. It's not up to you to decide whether it's there or not. I have already smelled the scent of a woman. Wait for our people to go forward and check and you will know. Don't even think about it. A soldier can be killed but not humiliated. If you dare to come over, I will self-destruct. Exclamation mark. I will die with you. Captain Keen's face showed a trace of viciousness and determination. Self-destruction. Why don't you try it? Count Dracula said, and a code disk on the Julio-class cockpit console actually automatically popped up the cover. The self-destruct code is 55,864,358,385, a very auspicious number. Count Dracula muttered to himself. Then, Captain Keen and his spaceship pilots saw that the numbers on the code disk actually lit up by themselves. Then, with a beep sound, the code keyboard popped up, and inside was a bright red self-destruct button. This is the self-destruct button, right? Look how thoughtful I am. I have prepared it for you. Do you want me to press it, or do you want me to do it? Chapter 442 Two Big Fish. The private ship of Admiral Sasha, the commander of the Northern Empire's 3rd Squadron, was intercepted by the evil mind and Count Dracula while secretly transporting Romanog and Miranda to Siberia. The main thruster of the Julio-class high-speed spacecraft was damaged, and the 15 mechas were also dealt with by Nina and Xia Xingchen. Carlos Hay invaded the central control computer of the Julio-class cruiser through the communication system. At this time, Carlos was in a playful mood. He used the name of Count Dracula to play tricks on the people on the ship. At this time, all the monitors on the Julio-class spacecraft were live broadcasting the scene in the cockpit. Almost everyone on the spacecraft was tortured by terror and almost collapsed. Some people even peed their pants. Finally, the pilot closest to the big screen in the cockpit couldn't stand such mental torture, rushed forward and slapped the red button. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. Everyone in the ship opened their mouths wide, screaming, fear, despair, and some even closed their eyes tightly. Click. The button made a sound. 1 second, 2 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds passed, but the expected explosion and death did not come. Ha ha ha, did you hear that? This is the footsteps of the god of death. Death is not scary, but the process of welcoming death is the scariest. How about surrendering to Count Dracula and becoming the slave of the Vampire King? I will give you a way out. I surrender. Don't kill me. I surrender. You can ask me to do anything. Just let me go. The driver who just pressed the self-destruct button completely collapsed. He knelt in front of the big screen, knocked his head, and tears flowed. Bang! A gunshot rang out, and a bullet passed through the back of the driver's head, and his body fell to the ground. Behind him, the muzzle of the gun in Captain Keen's hand was still emitting gunpowder smoke. "Assholes, come if you dare." Captain Keen glared. "Pa pa pa pa." Count Dracula put down the wine glass in his hand, and clapped his hands. "I know, this is your answer, right? I will fulfill your wish." Soon, the people on the spaceship found that the internal defense system of the spaceship pointed its guns at them. Soon, bullets poured out of the muzzles, and all the members, including Captain Keen, were shot into sieves. Warships are equipped with internal defense systems. This is a self-protection measure in case the warships are invaded from the outside. Who knew that it has now become a deadly weapon? The only survivors were Romanog and Miranda, who were huddled in panic in their cabins. They were scared out of their wits when they saw the tragic scene in the video. Carlos controlled the central optical computer of the Julio class and opened all the hatches. The evil and Count Dracula approached it and ejected electromagnetic anchor chains. Then, a large number of robots from the two spaceships filed out, especially the evil. Carlos opened all the doors of the mecha warehouses and cargo holds, and the 3 Ranger mechas went back and forth many times, and put all the 10 flying wolf mechas that Nina paralyzed into the evil, and the evil was stuffed full. Several robots opened the doors of Romanog and Miranda's cabins, forced them to put on decompression suits and masks, and took them back to the Count Dracula. Carlos left his clone with space equipment on the evil mind, assigned it 10 robots, and began to dismantle the flying wolf mechas on the spot. However, they only realized at this time that Nina was very precise. None of these mechas were damaged. They just electrocuted all the mecha masters. One of the flying wolf mechas was sent to Xia Xingchen's private mecha space as a spare mecha, and the remaining mechas were disassembled into basic parts within 3 meters and sent to the artificial intelligence space. The bodies of the mecha masters were thrown directly into space. The remaining robots all rushed into the Julio class and began the demolition work. The small reactor, nuclear fuel rods, the central optical computer of the spacecraft, various supplies, and ammunition were all sent to the Count Dracula in the artificial intelligence space. In the end, Carlos took out a few nuclear fuel rods with little fuel left from the artificial intelligence space, connected them in parallel, and dismantled the explosion-proof device to make a nuclear bomb with a considerable equivalent. Then all the robots evacuated. 20 minutes later, the evil mind and Count Dracula had already flown far away. The specially made large nuclear bomb was detonated, and the spacecraft disappeared in space like a mystery. Xia Xingchen personally maintained and serviced the Revenge Knight mecha and the Thor's Wing mecha. Then he and Carlos took stock of the gains of this battle. They had a lot of gains this time. 10 flying wolf mechas, a lot of supplies, ammunition, and 13 new nuclear fuel rods. Moreover, after dismantling the central optical computer of this spacecraft, Carlos can now make 2 auxiliary computing systems using the materials on it. After these 2 systems are completed, the operating speed of Carlos can be increased by 20%. However, Carlos told Xia Xingchen that the 2 people they captured were their biggest gain in this battle. The spaceship continued to fly towards the NKS-003 wormhole in the Baku starfield. Xia Xingchen finally found time to entertain the 2 guests on the ship. In an empty cabin of 10 square meters, the hands and feet of the 2 people were tied with alloy ropes. 2 majestic robots were guarding them in the room, and the blade claws on the robots' forearms flashed coldly. Soon, the door of the cabin opened, and 2 young people walked in from outside the cabin. "Who are you? Do you know who we are? We are the guests of His Majesty Nicholas. You will regret it." Romanog still didn't understand the situation. Miranda also looked at the 2 people in front of her coldly. She felt that one of them looked familiar, as if she had seen him somewhere, but she couldn't remember it for a while. Xia Xingchen had taken off the polymer camouflage mask on his face at this time. He and Keela sat on a chair, looking at the 2 people in front of them happily. "Of course I know who you are. You have been heard a lot in the news these days. Mr. Romanog, the Deputy Foreign Minister of the Galactic Empire. And this beautiful lady, Miranda. Ms. Esmeralda, the future princess of Emperor Nicholas the Great. Am I right?" Xia Xingchen stared at the two people with a smile. You recognize the wrong person. Those two people are still in the bunker star. It was reported in the news yesterday. Ramanuj saw that the situation was not good. These people knew their identities and were still fearless, so they were probably coming for them. So he immediately became timid and did not dare to admit his identity. Miranda calmed down from her fear at this time. She felt that she was a beauty, and beauties always had privileges. She felt that she might be able to rely on her beauty this time. Gentlemen, I'm just his plaything. You must have recognized the wrong person. As long as you can let us go, I'm willing to serve you. Both of you are fine. Miranda's eyes were full of spring, and she frequently flirted. Sorry, I really don't like your appearance. My girlfriend is much more beautiful than you. What Xia Xingchen said was not false at all. Whether it was Nina, Kinjana, Zhang Yingying, Li Qiuru and others, they were all first-class beauties. Are you interested? Don't make me laugh. I'm afraid of dirt. I'm a germaphobe. Keela looked down on Miranda. Others may make mistakes, but I won't. Miranda. Miss Esmeralda. It's really ridiculous to say. What qualifications do you have to be called the Seven Pharaohs of the Imperial Military Command Academy together with Zhang Yingying, Ji Yunsu and others? Xia Xingchen sneered. Who are you? Miranda's heart was completely confused. Undoubtedly, the person in front of her knew her background very well, and it would be too difficult to get away with it. Let me introduce myself. I'm the Guardian Knight of Princess Crossing of the Galactic Empire. My name is Xia Xingchen. Chapter 443 Interrogation. On the Count Dracula, Xia Xingchen and Keela were interrogating the captured former Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Galactic Empire, Ramanuj and Miranda. Esmeralda. Xia Xingchen revealed his identity. Ramanuj collapsed to the ground, and Miranda fell into despair. Xia Xingchen's name is now a household name in the Galactic Empire. This Knight of the Star Princess is the idol of countless teenagers, soldiers, and miners, and the nightmare of Emperor Nicholas the Great. What they didn't dream of was that they took such a big risk to defect to the north, and before they could enjoy it, they were hunted here. Could it be that the strength of the Galactic Empire is so strong? The two felt extremely frightened. Ms. Miranda, although I deeply sympathize with your experience, your actions have deeply hurt the people of the Galactic Empire and constitute treason. We will detain the two of you back to Shia and Star for trial. What I want to tell you is that no matter who dares to betray the country and sell out the interests of the country, there is only one end waiting for you, that is, death penalty. Miranda looked at Hen and was taken away. At this time, Ramanuj was lying on the ground, knocking his head on the ground. Xia Xingchen went over and kicked him to the ground. Lord Ramanuj, if Miranda may have been wronged, why did you commit treason? The Empire has treated you well. You have to speak up. Xia Xingchen sat down on a chair and watched Ramanuj, the clown, performing there with a joking look. Lord Xia Xingchen, I was bewitched by a ghost and confused for a moment. This guy didn't understand the situation and was still stubborn. Do you have a way to make this guy speak honestly? This is exactly what I'm good at. I will make him live a life worse than death. Keela's image at this time was made up. His face was full of flesh, and he looked very scary with a hideous scar and a blind eye. There were airbags inside his clothes, which made him look muscular and sturdy. This appearance, coupled with the sharp voice, scared Ramanuj to pee his pants. As a top killer, Keela was very familiar with the structure of the human body, and torture was a compulsory course. When they were carrying out assassination missions, they often had to use the shortest time to make people speak and ask for relevant information about the target. After a pig-killing scream, Ramanuj finally explained the reason for the matter. His parents were spies of the Northern Empire. They lurked for decades and gave birth to him on Shia and Star. Ramanuj was brainwashed by his parents since he was a child and received spy training. Later, he broke into the government of the Galactic Empire and climbed step by step to the position of Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs. He used this identity to provide a large amount of intelligence to the Northern Empire and used this identity to mobilize anti-war organizations to put pressure on the government and military of the Galactic Empire. Keeley asked very carefully, including information about Romanig's contact in the Galactic Empire, his financial sponsors, accomplices, political allies, etc. He even asked about his favorite color of underwear. Xia Xingchen recorded the entire interrogation process. After the interrogation, Xia Xingchen injected Miranda and Romanig with drugs, and the two fell into a coma. Then they were locked in a cryogenic freezer. In order to deal with the inspections that might be encountered along the way, Carlos specially made two cryogenic freezers. These two freezers look like two large engineering robots. When you open its belly, there is a different world inside. No one would ever think that someone would hide people in the machine. 2 days later, the two spaceships finally arrived at the wormhole. Xia Xingchen specially arranged 3 people to fill the number on the evil thought. The information of the two spaceships is complete and detailed, and the identity information of each person is also seamless. The navigation record of the spaceship has also been modified. This rewritten navigation record perfectly avoids the starfield where the Gemini and other accidents occurred in terms of time and place, so as to avoid being targeted by the intelligence department of the Northern Empire. Facing the soldiers who came on board to search, Captain Bielsa was very sensible and stuffed a red envelope. Looking at the several majestic mechas and the full load of cargo on the spacecraft, the soldiers knew that this group of people was not easy to mess with. Apart from the personal mechas, the full load of cargo was proof of the all-you-can-eat robbing, and the soldiers took the benefits and naturally let them go. After passing through the wormhole and 3 days of full speed, Count Dracula and the evil thought finally arrived at Blohinsk, an important town in the northwest of the Baku starfield. The geographical location here is very important, and it is very close to the wormhole leading to the Sakhalin starfield and the western Lyra starfield. It is also an important material transfer center. Compared with the bunker star, it has strategic depth here, and the logistics supply center of the Northern Empire's 3rd Fleet is also located here. After entering the Baku starfield, the patrol intensity of the army here has also been significantly strengthened, so they did not suffer any harassment at all during the 3-day journey. If they were to rob here and be discovered by the patrolling army, they might be treated as spies of the Galactic Empire, so the captains of the spaceships put away their greed. When their spaceship entered the range of Blohinsk, they encountered a traffic jam. The space station in Blohinsk was also being expanded at this time. The entire space was crowded with warships and cargo ships. Xia Xingchen Carlos invaded the local area network here and scanned this airspace. They found that in just such an airspace, the forces of 3 main fleets were concentrated. This is not good news for the entire Galactic Empire. This means that the Galactic Empire's assessment of the Northern Empire's military strength is problematic, and this mistake of misjudging the opponent's strength is fatal. Blohinsk was originally a huge planet with 20 natural satellites. Later, the Northern Empire built 15 giant artificial satellites here. In addition, this starfield has 20 armed fortress satellites, which can be said to be armed to the teeth. Due to too many spacecraft, the long-term berths on the satellite near the Blohinsk space station were full, and they had to go to the Buoy 18 satellite to find an empty berth. This is actually a small spacecraft maintenance factory with 2 spacecraft berths that is not doing well. Xia Xingchen rented this place for 500,000 star coins a day. It was still the old rule, only using the facilities here without maintenance personnel. The owner of the repair shop was very happy to take on this kind of business that only takes money without doing any work. Now that they have more manpower, they can divide the work and cooperate, which is much more efficient. Carlos had already classified the goods on the spacecraft and found the best buyer on the Blohinsk local area network. He also placed an order on the online trading platform for the materials he could use to upgrade his computing equipment. That night, Xia Xingchen, Keeley, Brunswick and Carlos gathered secretly in the conference room. They had to sort out the intelligence they had collected in the past few months. They now had a large backlog of important intelligence and had to send the news to the Galactic Empire military as soon as possible. The first thing to be transmitted is the comparison of the defense forces and military strength of the Northern Empire on various planets that they have seen along the way, especially the deployment of the army in Blohinsk. In addition, Carlos also used the northern land to map the deployment of troops in other areas of the Sakhalin and Baku galaxies. Of course, this can only be used as a reference, because the movement of warships in many regions is constantly changing, and the movement of many troops must be network silent to prevent leaks. Then send the situation of Gemini to the Galactic Empire, because Gemini is an important source of income for the Northern Empire. Now that Gemini has been completely destroyed, and nearly 2 squadrons have been lost, this is a serious blow to the economy of the Northern Empire, and is likely to affect the time when the Northern Empire launches a full-scale war. The intelligence of the Snow Demon Knights is also very worthy of attention. This unit has strong combat effectiveness, excellent mobility and concealment. Once they are put into the war as a whole, they can even turn the entire situation around. The most terrifying thing about the Snow Demon Knights now is that the entire Galactic Empire still basically does not know about their situation. The last piece of information was the capture of Rummanig and Miranda. These 2 famous traitors, aimless. Now the 2 of them have dealt a serious blow to the reputation and morale of the Galactic Empire government. Although Emperor Qin the cabinet government and the military have taken countermeasures, the negative impact is still very serious. In particular, the 2 traitors are still at large, and are even about to become princesses. Xia Xingchen is very resentful about this. He studied the 2 subjects of intelligence and public opinion at the Xianyu and Star Galactic Empire Military Command Academy, so he knew the serious consequences of this matter. Xia Xingchen first fully showed the scene of their interception of the Julio-class cruiser, then how to capture prisoners, and the final interrogation process. Of course, some of the performance of Xia Xingchen and others' mechas and spacecrafts were not shown, and the images of those robots were also reorganized by Carlos, looking like ordinary combatants. This is to prevent the intelligence personnel of the Northern Empire from analyzing clues and exposing their whereabouts. Only Xia Xingchen's true face and the true faces of the 2 people have been shown in front of the camera. In particular, there are many close-ups of the 2 people being terrified during the interrogation and Rummanig being tortured inhumanely, and there are no cuts. Xia Xingchen just wants the people of the Galactic Empire to see the faces of traitors and how miserable the traitors are. In this way, the unfavorable public opinion environment of the Galactic Empire can be reversed, and those scoundrels with treasonous intentions can be deterred. The intelligence was organized and directed, and Carlos made the intelligence into a data packet. After being scrambled into garbled code, it was scattered and hidden in the public opinion supervision server of the Ministry of the Interior of the Northern Empire. As long as the Northern Empire turns on the space router, these scattered files will be transmitted along with other news data. Also transmitted is a low-level artificial intelligence clone of Carlos, which will slowly build a task framework in the Skynet of the Galactic Empire. Because there is too much content to be transmitted, the entire intelligence must be transmitted twice. If too much data is inserted into the news at one time, resulting in data overflow, it may arouse the vigilance of the Ministry of the Interior of the Northern Empire. There are 2 recipients of this intelligence. One is Xia Xingchen's roommate Dayren, the head of the Northern Empire Strategic Intelligence Department, and the other is General von Klausch, the commander of the 3rd Fleet. One of these 2 people represents the Imperial Ministry of the Interior, and the other represents the Imperial Military. It is safe to hand over the intelligence to them, and they will be taken seriously. In addition to these 2 intelligence packages, Xia Xingchen also posted a message on the personal terminal of Princess Qin Jaina. Jaina, I'm doing well in the north, and there is no danger. You must take care of yourself and don't worry. I will go back to see you soon. Love you, Xia Xingchen. Chapter 444 A Gift from the North. Galactic Empire, Western Administrative District, Lubin Star. This is the headquarters of the 3rd Fleet of the Galaxy. Fleet Commander General von Klausch was about to call his adjutant to hold a routine military meeting. Suddenly, a file was received on his private confidential personal terminal. The file was very large, with hundreds of GB. General von Klausch frowned. The file did not show the sender's address or title. He did not dare to open it easily. If there was a virus in it, it would be bad. He suspected that his personal terminal had been hacked. However, when he put his finger on the icon of the file, a line of words suddenly popped up on the personal terminal, which frightened General Feng Cloche so much that his heart almost jumped out. A gift from the far north. Xia Xingchen, this stinky boy, is deliberately mysterious. General Feng Cloche laughed and scolded. He was relieved. Xia Xingchen went to the Northern Empire. He knew about this. After all, the Tangyang, to which Xia Xingchen belonged, was temporarily seconded to Princess Qinjana. In addition, when General Cloche exchanged intelligence with the Yazi organization, the Yazi organization also mentioned this matter. He then confidently projected the document onto the monitor on his desk. However, as soon as he opened the document and finished reading the directory, he immediately called his adjutant. Today's meeting is cancelled. The time will be notified separately. Then, he turned and entered the secret room, and it took him more than 2 hours to finish reading the information. At this time, his face was full of excitement and shock. He activated the emergency call device. The serious face of Marshal von Bismarck appeared on the screen. He was in the office of Emperor Qin Zhi and 5-star General Zhang Chenglang to report the army's combat readiness to the Emperor of the Galactic Empire. What's going on? So panic. Von Bismarck had to interrupt his report. He looked unhappy. This communication channel was used by him to contact his third son in case of emergency. Grand Marshal, Knight Xia Xingchen sent extremely important information from the Northern Empire. Please read it quickly and make a decision early. The confidentiality level is top secret. General von Cloche on the opposite side looked very serious. After the communication ended, von Marshal Bismarck looked up and found that the Emperor Qin Zhi and the 5-star General Zhang Chenglang were looking at him with interest. It seemed that interrupting the report to the Emperor to answer the phone was rare in the history of the entire Galactic Empire. Your Majesty, General Zhang Chenglang, let's go to the secret room. There is important information. He smiled awkwardly. Dayren climbed up from the bed in the bedroom. It was already bright. He was busy all night yesterday and went to bed at dawn. The new Minister of the Interior of the Galactic Empire was devoted to his work. However, his beautiful new wife Ji Yunsu had already brought a carefully prepared breakfast. The two of them had registered their marriage, but they had not held the wedding yet. They decided to hold the wedding after the war. Thank you. Dayren gave his wife a grateful look. The two can be said to be a typical example of a couple who respect each other like guests. At this time, the personal terminal placed at the head of Dayren's bed rang, and Dayren opened the file with a reader. His eyes suddenly lit up, and he grabbed the reader and a piece of bread, and went into his study. Dayren opened the folder, and was shocked after reading it. He quickly contacted Dai Yunfei, the Minister of the Interior of the Galactic Empire. Grandpa, here is an important piece of information. In the Western Administrative District of the Galactic Empire, Laulant Star Space Station, the Star Glory Fleet is staying here. On the fleet's flagship Linen Heavy Cruiser, Princess Qinjana is discussing the next action plan with her staff. Suddenly, a message appeared on Qinjana's personal terminal. Jaina, I'm doing well in the north. There is no danger. You have to take care of yourself. Don't worry. I will go back to see you soon. Love you, Xia Xingchen. Qinjana's face suddenly changed after reading it, and she ran back to her room with tears in her eyes. The capital administrative district of the Galactic Empire, Leo Star. This planet is famous for its gambling industry. There are hundreds of thousands of casinos on the planet. There are also many casinos of interstellar gambling groups located here. On the planet Leo, the headquarters of the Demacia Gambling Group is here. They are the largest online gambling group in the entire galaxy. The amount of money spent on online gambling every day is countless. Every day, hundreds of millions of people in the Milky Way gamble on their website through Skynet. Their gambling network covers the entire Milky Way. In order to support the huge online business, they have a building the size of 20 football fields on Leo Star, which contains a server array composed of dozens of giant optical computers. On this day, some strange meaningless data fragments quietly entered the server. They were too small, too inconspicuous, and had no specific function, so even the firewall and antivirus software were not touched. Slowly, these strange data combined together and eventually formed the image of a vampire. The firewall and antivirus software only then realized that the situation was not good, but before they could make any reaction, they were subdued by the vampire. This is a low-level artificial intelligence, Carlos's clone. Carlos named it Robert-01. Its mission is to enter the Skynet of the Galactic Empire first to collect and construct the initial network resources. Because it is far away from Carlos's body, the networks of the Galactic Empire and the Northern Empire are not always connected, so it must find a powerful computer as its body. The server of the Mecha gambling group has abundant computing resources. The resource utilization rate of their servers is usually around 10%. The peak computing resources are only 33%. It has abundant remaining computing resources for Robert-01 to use. Moreover, the large number of online gambling transactions can reduce the risk of it being discovered. Robert-01 felt that he was in a very good state at this time. He occupied the server of the Mecha gambling group, and then occupied dozens of large servers and optical computers of large enterprises as extended computing resources and broilers. Carlos's task for Robert was to closely monitor the network of the entire Galactic Empire, while constantly capturing broilers, and find the port of the space router that sent data from the Galactic Empire to the Northern Empire. The intelligence sent by Xia Xingchen mobilized the military and intelligence departments of the entire Galactic Empire. They quickly held a meeting to analyze the authenticity of the intelligence and study countermeasures. That night, the Emperor Xia called a special emergency imperial meeting to discuss the matter. Chapter 445 Changes in the North. In the secret meeting room of the Xia Xingchen Star Palace in the Galactic Empire, the young Emperor Xia of the Galactic Empire urgently convened a special meeting on the security of the Empire. The participants were Emperor Xia of the Empire, Qin Yuanshan, the Grand Elder of the Imperial Elders Council, K, the Prime Minister of the Galactic Empire, De Yunfei, the Minister of the Interior of the Empire, Feng Bismarck, the Grand Marshal of the Galactic Empire Army, and Zhang Chenglong, the Chief of the General Staff of the Galactic Empire. Also attending the meeting was Dai Ren, the Minister of the Strategic Intelligence Department of the Galactic Empire. At the beginning of the meeting, the intelligence sent back by Xia Xingchen began to be played on the big screen in the conference room. Although several of them had read this intelligence several times, they still read it very carefully this time. After the complete intelligence was displayed, everyone in the room fell silent. In the end, it was the old Prime Minister K who spoke first. Have we confirmed the authenticity of the intelligence we just saw? Through what channel did you get it? Minister of the Interior Dai Yunfei spoke up. So far, a total of 2 people have received this intelligence that is said to have been sent back by Knight Xia Xingchen. One of them is Minister Dai Ren, and the other is General von Klosch, commander of the 3rd Fleet of the Galactic Empire. One of these 2 is a good friend of Xia Xingchen, and von Klosch has been kind to Xia Xingchen, so they are trustworthy to Xia Xingchen. So it is safe for Xia Xingchen to send the intelligence to these 2, and it will be fully valued. In addition, our investigators from the Ministry of the Interior also visited many people who had contact with Xia Xingchen, and none of them received the intelligence, but Her Royal Highness Princess Crossing received a message. Xia Xingchen left her a message to report that she was safe. Then how did they send the message? Our network is not connected to the north. Prime Minister K was very meticulous, and he was afraid that this was a trap set by the Northern Empire. Dai Yunfei shrugged his shoulders. I really don't know about this. According to General von Klosch and Minister Dai Ren, when they received the file, there was only a reminder, and other information such as file size, file type, sender address and timeline were blank. That's true. And through our analysis of Xia Xingchen's intelligence and actions, there must be a top-notch hacker in his team. It is this person's existence that allows Xia Xingchen to easily avoid the tracking of the Northern Empire in the north. Our Strategic Intelligence Department's analysis of this intelligence has reached a credibility of more than 99.5%. Prime Minister K nodded. In this case, I'm relieved. Everyone speaks freely, no one hides anything, and tell us your views on this intelligence from your professional perspective. General Zhang Chenglong, you should talk about the military's views first. Emperor Xia saw that no one was willing to speak first, so he called on the general. Since your majesty asked, I will tell you my opinion. 5-star General Xia Xingchen replied. The most important intelligence sent back by Knight Xia Xingchen this time is that it gives us a new understanding of the Northern Empire's military deployment. Based on the military deployment of the Northern Empire in the Sakhalin and Baku starfields sent by Xia Xingchen, their actual military strength is 40% more than our estimated number. Hiss, oh my god, there is such a big difference. The people in the room began to whisper to each other. In a battle of this scale, where the Galactic Empire and the Northern Empire broke out in a full-scale war, if the opponent's military strength is misjudged, it would be fatal, and it would be very easy to cause the mobilization of troops to be stretched. Then what should we do? Should we continue to increase investment in building a fleet? Emperor Qin Zhi was a little panicked. Your Majesty, please be patient. Admiral Zhang Chenglong said calmly. Through the analysis of the video sent by Xia Xingchen, the combat effectiveness of the Northern Empire's newly built fleet and its large number of local garrisons is worrying. Not to mention that the performance of their spacecraft and the level of their weapons and equipment are far behind our fleet. The commanders are not of high quality and there is no running in. It can be seen that they were hastily deployed. The combat effectiveness of such a fleet is very limited. Our main fleet can easily fight 1 against 3 or even 1 against 4. So we don't have to rush to expand the fleet. What's more, even if we increase the number of fleets now, there are still great doubts as to whether we can form combat effectiveness within a year. There is simply no point in doing so. The countermeasures we have to take into account now are, first, when deploying troops, we must take into account the extra forces of the opponent to avoid being caught off guard. Second, strengthen the training of our reserve forces. Our reserve forces must ensure that they can at least replenish the forces of the 2 reorganized fleets at any time to meet the requirements. Marshal Feng Pismay also nodded in agreement. General Zhang's explanation is very detailed and accurate. I have no other opinions. However, compared with the increase in the number of the enemy fleet, the Snow Demon Knights are the most worrying. What does the intelligence department think of them? De Yunfei shook his head. These people just appeared out of nowhere. Our traditional intelligence departments have suffered heavy losses in the past few years and have no news about them. I wonder if there is any news from the Strategic Intelligence Agency, he said while looking at his grandson. De Yunfei knew that his grandson was not simple and would definitely be prepared. As expected, De Ren did not let him down. De Ren stood up and projected a document on the big screen. Your Majesty, gentlemen, our Strategic Intelligence Agency has long noticed the Snow Demon Knights, but they are very mysterious, and we have never been able to figure them out. Based on previous intelligence and the intelligence sent by Xia Xingchen this time, the Strategic Intelligence Agency analyzed that this organization has been established for 1 or 2 years, but they are a top secret unit of the Northern Empire and have been training and running in quietly. Moreover, their headquarters is hidden in the mysterious Khabarovsk starfield. Therefore, our intelligence department did not pay attention to them before, and even the vast majority of the residents of the Northern Empire, even officials and soldiers, did not know the existence of the Snow Demons. Until February of this year, after the independence of the Northern Empire, Nicholas amassed wealth and plundered merchants, which seriously damaged their interests, and was fiercely resisted by merchants from all over the country. So the Snow Demon Knights went out to participate in the suppression operation. Their purpose is to take this opportunity to train and run in the troops. According to the intelligence sent by Knight Xia Xingchen, the Snow Demon Knights now have 5,000 mecha divisions and 1,000 reserve members. These people are all D-class mecha divisions under the age of 35. There are quite a few of them who have reached the level of C-class mecha divisions, and some mecha divisions are even close to the level of B-class mecha divisions. The mechas equipped by these mecha divisions are mainly the latest products of Northern Heavy Industries. Flying Wolf Mecha, Strengthened Ice Wolf Mecha and Vengeance Wolf Mecha driven by those elite mecha divisions. This Vengeance Wolf Mecha first appeared 3 years ago. In the Battle of Watchstar, when Yuri escaped from Watchstar, such a mecha participated in the battle and attacked Lieutenant Freya, causing her death. At this time, the video of Freya being attacked a few years ago was played on the big screen. Everyone in the room was very surprised. They admired the work of the Strategic Intelligence Agency. They even dug out such a secret thing. Seeing everyone's fiery gazes, Dayren was a little overwhelmed, and he hurriedly explained, I know this very well, because Knight Xia Xingchen and I are good friends. And this Lieutenant Freya is Knight Xia Xingchen's ex-girlfriend. Xia Xingchen's trip to the Northern Empire alone this time is also related to this matter. He found clues about the Vengeance Wolf Mecha from intelligence from the north a while ago, so he wanted to find the murderer who killed Lieutenant Freya. Nonsense. It's just nonsense. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 446 Fateful Enemy. In the secret meeting room of the Galactic Empire Palace, Shineon Star, the capital of the Galactic Empire, Emperor Qin Zhi was discussing with his ministers the intelligence that Xia Xingchen had secretly sent back from the north. Dayren, the head of the Strategic Intelligence Bureau, the newly established intelligence department of the Galactic Empire, introduced the basic situation of the Snow Demon Knights and the reason why Xia Xingchen went to the Northern Empire to the people present. But he was interrupted before he finished speaking. Nonsense. It's just nonsense. 5-star General Zhang Chenglang jumped up and almost cursed. First of all, from the perspective of a soldier, it is the duty of a soldier to obey orders. This kind of private decision for personal grudges and being in danger is not what a qualified soldier should do. On the other hand, he was also fighting for his granddaughter. Now Zhang Yengying mentions Xia Xingchen at every turn, and everyone can see the affection and attachment. And now this stinky boy actually threw his precious granddaughter aside and took risks to avenge another woman, making his precious granddaughter worried, which is simply unforgivable. Several people present had heard about Zhang Yengying's affairs, and they all covered their mouths and laughed secretly. The old Prime Minister NK spoke up. You old stubborn man, don't think we don't know you have selfish motives. If it weren't for Xia Xingchen, would we have this information? Everyone has a young time. The fact that he can do this fully shows that he is a passionate man with feelings and righteousness. Your granddaughter will be lucky to marry such a good man in the future, so don't be so arrogant. Humph. Zhang Chenglan was stuck there by Prime Minister NK's words and didn't say anything. First, he couldn't argue with this shrewd fox, and second, he couldn't talk back to this old man, who was almost 30 years older than him. No, absolutely not. Xia Xingchen can only marry Princess Crossing, otherwise where will the face of my royal family be? The great elder of the royal family, Qin Yuanshan, jumped out again. Why? According to the laws of the Galactic Empire, men with military merits are allowed to marry multiple wives. In other words, there is no law in the Galactic Empire that says that a prince consort cannot take concubines. Moreover, in the history of our country, there are multiple prince consorts who have many wives. Besides, it was I Yengying who knew Xia Xingchen first, and your Princess Crossing is still a mistress. Old man, you are really lying with your eyes open. Our Princess Jaina has known Xia Xingchen since she was 15 years old. Why should she be a mistress? Qin Yuanshan was also blowing his beard and glaring, and he was about to draw his gun. He would never tolerate anyone violating the dignity of the royal family. Emperor Qin Zhi grabbed his head with both hands and buried his head on the table helplessly, while Prime Minister NK smiled and watched the two old guys bickering. Stop, stop, stop. We are in a meeting now. Knight Xia Xingchen will have to wait until after the war to decide who to marry. Anything can happen on the battlefield, and anything can happen before the war is over. Is it meaningful to discuss these things now? Marshal von Bismarck, with a serious expression, stopped this farce-like argument in a timely manner. Suddenly the room became quiet, and the atmosphere was very solemn. Marshal von Bismarck hit the nail on the head. Once Xia Xingchen died in the war, these things would really be meaningless. Marshal von Bismarck continued, as for the issue of violating military regulations, that's all nonsense. Since Xia Xingchen is now seconded by Princess Crossing's Starry Fleet, Princess Crossing approved this action, which is legal and compliant. What's more, for a capable child like Xia Xingchen, it would be a waste of talent to restrict him with rules and regulations. Give him space and trust to let him play freely, and he will bring us greater surprises. Haven't he given us enough surprises over the years? Everyone nodded frequently after hearing this. Xia Xingchen is a person who can create miracles and is Nicholas's disaster star. He will not let people down. However, Qin Yuanshan is distracted now. He is wondering whether he should promote legislation to prohibit the princes-in-law from taking concubines. Xiaode, please continue. The old marshal motioned Dayren to continue. The commander of the Snow Demon Knights is Brigadier General Andre. He is 25 years old this year. Dayren said this. Everyone took a breath of cold air. Even if Nicholas bought and sold official positions in order to win people's hearts, he would not easily grant the rank of general to a person without real ability. This is a matter of principle. If this is done, it will be an insult to those soldiers who really shed blood and sweat. Such a thing happened on Earth before humans entered the space age. The dictator of a superpower awarded a female actress the rank of Major General in order to please his lover. Later, in order to shut people up and avoid gossip, he simply promoted a large number of actors and singers to Major Generals. The result is that countless soldiers in this country, who have worked hard, fought on the battlefield, and dedicated their lives to the country and the army have not been able to carry the star of the general, but let a group of actors tyrannize over their heads. The generals were all chilled. As a result, the army of this country was in chaos. No one was willing to fight and dedicate themselves to the country, and the army became a tool for a few people to make money. In the end, this country was almost destroyed by its neighbor. This happened many times later in the space age, so Nicholas would not make such a mistake. This Brigadier General Andre is the son of Nicholas's personal guard. His personal guard sacrificed his life to protect Nicholas decades ago. Nicholas' life was saved by this guard. At that time, Andre was only 2 years old, and his mother was no longer alive. Nicholas adopted him in the name of his uncle, and taught him all his skills. For Andre, Nicholas is an uncle, a father, a teacher, and a master. Now Nicholas has not married or had children, but the entire Galactic Empire knows that, if Nicholas has any accident, Andre is his first heir. This Andre is the best among the young people in the entire Northern Empire. Nicholas passed all his skills to him. It is said that his strength is close to that of a B-level mecha master. But what's interesting is that he was defeated when he went to the Western Administrative District to take the mecha master level exam a few years ago. As a result, he did not pass the D-level mecha master exam. That is the only stain and record of failure in Andre's file. Inner Demon. This must be the Inner Demon. Feng He was sitting there. Marshal Bismarck and Grand Elder Qin Yuanshan are both S-class mecha masters, while Zhang Qinglong, a 5-star admiral, is an A-class mecha master. They have all reached, or are about to reach that realm. This can be used well. If Andre wants to break through and go further, he must find a way to break his inner demon. And the mecha master who defeated him is his lifeblood. Dayren, see if you can find the mecha master who defeated him. Grand Marshal Qin Yuanshan suddenly came up with a plan. Please wait a moment, I'll check it out. Dayren agreed, and his fingers quickly entered the search information on the reader, and entered the database of the Galactic Empire's Central Optical Computer. Their Strategic Intelligence Bureau has a high level of authority. Not long after, the information was retrieved. People stared at the familiar name on the screen in amazement. Chapter 447 Nebula Nights. At the request of Marshal von Bismarck, Dayren entered the database of the main control central optical computer of the Galaxy Empire, and retrieved the information of Andre's D-class mecha master examination. When Andre's opponent's information appeared on the screen, everyone was stunned. Fate. This is fate. These two people are destined enemies. The knowledgeable old Prime Minister N.K. exclaimed. Haha, this Xia Xingchen is simply sent by God to torture Nicholas. Not only did he torture Nicholas in various ways, but he also didn't let his successor go. I wonder how strong Xia Xingchen is now? Von Bismarck laughed. Everyone shook their heads. They were too surprised about Xia Xingchen. He had too many secrets. No one could imagine how much Xia Xingchen had grown to now. Emperor Qin Zhi spoke. So, my lords, how should we deal with the Snow Demon Knights? Everyone fell into contemplation again. After a long time, Von Marshal Bismarck came up with a solution. Your Majesty, everyone, we can't ignore the Snow Demon Knights. Their threat is really too great. These elite mecha divisions will be deployed on the battlefield, whether they are dispersed to various positions for decapitation operations, or deployed in large-scale battles of large troops at one time, which will seriously affect the situation. Moreover, they are very concealed and mobile. Small troops are no match for them, and large troops cannot catch them. If we use conventional troops, we can't do anything to them. For elite troops, only elite troops can be used to deal with them. My suggestion is to establish an elite mecha division force directly under Your Majesty the Emperor. The functional positioning is the same as that of the Snow Demon Knights. They are all composed of elite mecha divisions who are at least D-level mecha divisions under the age of 35. Of course, they must be equipped with the best mechas and the best treatment. As for the size of this force, I suggest that about 8,000 people are more suitable, and the remaining 2,000 people are used as a reserve echelon. The management mode of the troops is that the commander is directly managed by the commander. However, the commander of this team must be selected well, and must be capable and prestigious, and able to convince the public. I wonder if the marshal has a suitable candidate for the commander? Emperor Xia asked. No one has one yet. I have to go back and select carefully. Marshal von Bismarck replied. This is his style. He knows the importance of the commander of a unit, and must treat it with caution. At this time, Prime Minister N.K. spoke. Ordinarily, I should not comment on your military affairs. However, I have an opinion on this matter. I wonder if the marshal can listen to my thoughts. Old man, you are too polite. Please speak. Since the commander of the Snow Demon Knights in the north is a young, respected, powerful and highly respected person in the civilian and military circles. Our galaxy empire is full of talents and there are such people. Prime Minister N.K.'s words made everyone's eyes light up. You mean? Von Bismarck pointed to the information on the big screen. Let Xia Xingchen be the commander of this unit. What? This candidate is ready. It's Colonel Xia Xingchen. As soon as this was said, everyone in the room was shocked. Lord N.K., Xia Xingchen is now in the Northern Empire, and it is still unclear when he will be able to return. Emperor Xia reminded. Your Majesty, the intelligence says that, although Andre is the commander of the Snow Demon, the specific affairs of the Snow Demon Knights are handled by Colonel Mechas who was killed by Xia Xingchen. Andre spends most of his time with Nicholas. This Mechas is the actual commander. I think we can also copy their model. We can first form a unit, complete the reorganization and training. When Xia Xingchen returns, he can naturally take over as the commander. Von Bismarck and Admiral Zhang Chenglang both applauded. Lord N.K.'s proposal is indeed good. Xia Xingchen is indeed the best candidate. The rest of the people also nodded frequently. Emperor Xia was very satisfied with this suggestion. Then as the adults said, we will also organize such a force. The government and various departments should fully support it. As for the recruitment of commanders and mecha divisions, the military will be fully responsible. Yes, Your Majesty, please name this force. Von Bismarck said. Xia thought for a while. The most beautiful, most gorgeous and most shocking scenery in the Milky Way is the nebula. I hope that the performance of this unit can be as brilliant as the nebula. I have decided to call this unit the Nebula Knights. In the name of the Emperor of the Empire, I officially appoint Colonel Xia Xingchen as the head of the Nebula Knights. Applause rang out again in the room. Since then, a famous unit in the history of the Milky Way and even in the history of all mankind was born. This Knights will become the nightmare of Andre, Nicholas, and the entire Northern Empire. It was already early in the morning, but the people in the room were still in high spirits. After solving the problem of military deployment and the Blood Demon Knights, the next thing to discuss is Miranda and Romanig. De Yunfei spoke first about this matter. Your Majesty, in the past few days we have implemented the plan discussed in our meeting one by one. This includes implementing media control, arresting anti-war activists, and arresting the relatives of Romanig and Miranda. Although the situation on the surface has been temporarily controlled, the pressure from the people has been very high, especially Miranda, who has a large number of sympathizers and supporters. Romanig has become a tool for anti-war groups to attack the government. Xia Xingchen caught that to this time and carefully interrogated them to find out the reasons for their defection. As long as this video is broadcast, these two people will become rats crossing the street, and everyone will shout and beat them. and other people who have treasonous thoughts should think about the consequences of betraying the empire. My suggestion is to release this video directly. Elder Yuanshan shook his head. Everyone, Xia Xingchen is still in the Northern Empire. If it is broadcast like this, Nicholas will definitely be angry and search for Xia Xingchen and these two people. Wouldn't that put them in danger? Why don't we just announce that we have caught two traitors? As for who caught them, keep it secret. But in this case, the effect will be greatly reduced. If the Northern Empire finds two more people to impersonate Miranda and Ramanig, we will really become a laughingstock. 5-star General Zhang Chenglang raised the question. Chapter 448 Deciphering the Code. In the secret meeting room of the Galactic Empire Palace in Xianyuan, the capital of the Galactic Empire, Emperor Qin Zhi was discussing with his ministers the intelligence that Xia Xingchen had secretly sent back from the north. When discussing whether to make public the video of the capture of the two traitors Miranda and Ramanig, the two sides had a disagreement. On the one hand, it was believed that the video should be released, otherwise it would not cause harm to the Northern Empire. The other opinion was not to release the video and protect Xia Xingchen's identity. The ministers in the room had a heated debate on this matter. There was no result. Dayren was a weak person, and everyone present, except Emperor Qin Zhi, was his grandfather's generation, so he couldn't afford to offend him. Helpless Dayren could only stare at the interrogation video playing on the big screen repeatedly. Suddenly he made a discovery. He quickly operated on the reader in his hand. Then, he slapped the table, which scared everyone. Everyone, stop arguing. I have a major discovery. Everyone's eyes were attracted by his words. Dayren was seen operating on the reader in his hand. What was projected on the big screen was the content in the reader in his hand. The video of Xia Xingchen interrogating the two traitors was playing rapidly, and after the video ended, the picture on the screen stopped. This was a pattern with a black background, and the design was very simple. It looked like the icon of a player or video playback software. Dayren downloaded the pattern and scanned the software with a small software in his personal terminal. After dozens of seconds, a text suddenly appeared on it. Please release this video to the public. Don't worry about my safety. For the time being, we will adopt a single line contact so as not to expose my position. There are many spies in the government and the army now, and we must investigate thoroughly Xia Xingchen. What is this? Everyone was confused. Your Majesty, gentlemen. Last year, when we were taking the courses Intelligence Science and Cryptology at the Imperial Military Command College, I created a software for converting text and images. The core data axis of the software was randomly selected without any rules. I used this set of numbers to write this software. This software is only available to the four of us in our dormitory. Xia Xingchen encoded and transmitted important intelligence through this channel. Only I can decipher its hidden content. Dai Yunfei looked at his grandson with a proud look on his face. Emperor Qin Zhi was also very happy. In this case, we don't have to argue about these things. Immediately instruct the propaganda department to send out the video. We have to vent our anger. Your Majesty, please wait a day before publishing it. Ramanig confessed to many people. You have to give our Ministry of the Interior time to catch people. Dai Yunfei said. Lord Day is right. But is the problem of the traitor really as serious as Knight Xia Xingchen said? Qin Zhi felt a little uneasy. Your Majesty, I'm afraid that's the case. Moreover, all signs indicate that Ramanig is not the highest ranking official lurking in our ranks. They have spies in our government and even in the military. Since these people have been lurking for too long and have special identity protection, it is difficult to investigate them. However, this time through the network of relationships confessed by Ramanig, we can take the opportunity to clean up another group of defectors and traitors. But this requires your Majesty's authorization. Qin Zhi hesitated. The intelligence department is a double-edged sword. Once they are given too much power, it is very likely to hurt innocent people, and it will inevitably set off a bloody storm. From his heart, Qin Zhi didn't want this to happen. He was a kind emperor. My lords, what do you think? Qin Zhi pushed the ball to others. Your Majesty, kindness is not good for the army. As soldiers, we hate treacherous ministers and traitors the most. Their betrayal will cause the deaths of countless soldiers. My suggestion is that we must never be soft on these spies and traitors. It is better to kill 1,000 by mistake than to let one go. Marshal von Bismarck had a serious expression at this time. I agree with the Marshal. And no matter whether it is a civilian population, the government or even the military, everyone should conduct self-examination. I don't want someone to hold me back and stab me in the back while I'm fighting desperately on the front line. Admiral Zhang Chenglang holds the same view. Prime Minister N.K. coughed twice. Your Majesty, as the saying goes, you must first stabilize the country before you can resist foreign aggression. Due to the connivance of the late emperor, there are countless spies, secret lines, and fostered agents lurking in our galactic empire over the years. One thing is true, even senior officials at the ministerial level in our empire have been caught up in it. These people can deal us a fatal blow at a critical moment. Are there few countries in history that have been destroyed because of spies? So your Majesty, you must make this decision. Lord De Yunfei, do you have any specific plans? Your Majesty, we will start arresting people immediately. When the video is announced in a day, we will let everyone see the fate of the accomplices of the two traitors, so that they will know the price traitors have to pay. Then I hope that your Majesty can issue a statement to support the Ministry of the Interior's actions to capture spies. You must tell everyone that no matter what position he is in, no matter what his identity is, as long as he embarks on the path of treason, the Galactic Empire will investigate it thoroughly. After the secret meeting of the top leaders of the Galactic Empire was adjourned, all institutions in the entire Galactic Empire became busy. The Imperial Ministry of the Interior and its subordinate intelligence departments, the Military's Inspection Department, and even the Royal Guard's Royal Military Police were dispatched to take the initiative to arrest the people and organizations confessed by Rummenigge. The arrest operation lasted a whole day. The Imperial Ministry of the Interior found a large amount of evidence and even a large number of weapons and equipment in the residences and secret bases of these people. The Ministry of the Interior conducted an inhumane interrogation on the spot, and they confessed a large number of lurking personnel in the north. Due to the huge harvest, it was really surprising. As a last resort, the press conference to release the video was forced to be postponed to the next morning. After another busy night, at 9 o'clock the next morning, almost all the major media in the entire galaxy gathered in the press release hall of the Shire Neon Star Palace. Chapter 449 Press Conference. This press conference hall is as big as a football field and can accommodate more than 100,000 reporters at the same time. In the center of the venue are several huge screens, surrounded by various audio equipment. There are also various lighting facilities above the venue. There are 3 layers of seats for reporters. At 9 o'clock in the morning, the host of this press conference, Kinley, the spokesman of the Galaxy Empire royal family, announced the start of the press conference. On the big screen appeared Ji Liangs, the Minister of Propaganda of the Galaxy Empire, De Yunfei, the Minister of the Interior of the Galaxy Empire, and Qin Zhi, the Emperor of the Galaxy Empire. They all attended the press conference in their own offices, which is a routine. Because there are too many people at the press conference, it is easy for them to be in danger if they go there in person. It is too easy for assassins to mix in among the reporters. Dear guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Today, we have invited you all to attend a press conference jointly held by the Galactic Empire Imperial Family, the Galactic Empire Government, the Galactic Empire Military, and the Galactic Empire Propaganda Department and the Ministry of the Interior. I'm today's host Kinley. Today's press conference is attended by His Majesty the Emperor Qin Zhi, Minister of the Interior De Yunfei, Minister of Propaganda and Lord Ji Liangs. First, let's watch a video. Kinley said this, and clapped his hands. The lights on the scene dimmed, and a video began to play on the big screen, and on the readers in the hands of each recorder at the scene. At the same time, this video was also transmitted to the entire Milky Way with the cameras and networks of tens of thousands of media. At the beginning of the video, 2 people who made the Galactic Empire hate them so much, former Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs Rummenigge and Miranda, tearfully told how they were persecuted and how they threw themselves into the arms of the great Nicholas the Great. The reporters present were dumbfounded. They had been hyping this film to attack the government for a while, and now they were playing it at the press conference. Isn't this a slap in their own face? The next scene was Nicholas and Chekhov announcing at the regular press conference of the Bifang Empire government that Nicholas the Great would marry Miranda as his princess. The press conference was a little chaotic, and reporters began to talk to each other, discussing the real purpose of the empire broadcasting this video. If the two people's speeches just now were a slap in the face of the Galactic Empire government, then the current behavior was a naked slap in the face of the Galactic Empire Emperor Qin Zhi. At this time, a black background appeared on the big screen at the scene, and several rows of blood-red characters were displayed on the background. They betrayed the country, they fled to the north, they thought Nicholas would protect them, and even dreamed of becoming a princess. But, the screen switched to video again. In the space in front of us was a Julio-class medium-sized high-speed cruiser with a propeller hit. The camera zoomed in, to give a big close-up of the logo of the 3rd Fleet of the Northern Empire military. There were also a bunch of wreckage of the Winged Wolf mecha and the Space Knight mecha floating in the sky. A medium-sized battleship approached the spacecraft, and hundreds of soldiers broke into the spacecraft. Of course, the spaceship Xia Xingchen was riding on in the video was a Rhine-class medium-sized mecha cruiser, and the robot was also changed to look like an ordinary human soldier. With Carlos' powerful image processing ability, he could create a video that was indistinguishable from the real thing, not to mention changing the appearance of a partial image. With human technology, it was impossible to distinguish between the real and the fake. Subtitles appeared on the screen. On May 18, 2020, at a certain location in the Sakhalin starfield of the Northern Empire, the secret forces of the Galaxy Forces intercepted a spaceship that was secretly heading to Siberia to perform a secret transportation mission. Of course, this location is real, and if the Northern Empire sends people to look for it, a small amount of wreckage can still be found. But the time is fake. It was 3 days after the incident. At that time, Xia Xingchen and others had already arrived in the Baku starfield, so they would not be suspected by those who were interested. A text box also popped up on the spacecraft, which contained the first introduction to the Julio class, and showed some photos and videos, indicating that it was the ship of Admiral Sasha of the Northern Empire's 3rd Fleet. All this information was picked up by Collis from the central control optical computer of the Julio class. The next scene was the tragic situation inside the ship, with the bodies of soldiers wearing the uniforms of the Northern Empire everywhere, especially Captain Keen. His face was given a long close-up, and the subtitles next to it were Captain Keen's profile. Several soldiers rushed into the two warehouses like wolves and tigers, and grabbed a man and a woman. The camera on the soldier zoomed in, and gave a big close-up of the two people's faces. Wow. The faces of the people in the press box and the whole galaxy watching the press conference showed incredible expressions, because they just watched the two people's bold words and their vision of a better life in the future. The next scene was the two people being escorted to the warehouse of Count Dracula. Xia Xingchen had a righteous conversation with them, and the two people's reactions and answers, especially when seeing Keela torturing Romanog with torture and making him die, everyone felt a little pleasure in their hearts. For this video, the media did not block it at all, and even did not use the biggest obstacle to human development and progress mosaic. At the end of the video, there was a scene of the Julio class being blown into fireworks by a nuclear fusion bomb in space. This video also made those who were undercover for the Northern Empire and those who were about to betray the Empire and defect to the North tremble. They had to re-evaluate the strength comparison between the Northern Empire and the Galactic Empire. They didn't want to be caught like Romanog, who abandoned his family in Korea before enjoying the superiority of the Northern Empire. More importantly, the Galactic Empire military's action was also a display of muscle. With such a fierce performance, once they defected to the Northern Empire and were destroyed by the Galactic Empire soon, they would really die without a burial place. The press conference of the Shineon and Star Palace of the Galactic Empire was in progress. The scene of Romanog being tortured and interrogated in the video became the nightmare of many people with ulterior motives. In just a few minutes, Romanog explained the reason for his treason. Although this guy also received some anti-forced confession training when he was young. After all, it was his parents who trained him and did not kill him. In addition, he had been pampered for many years, so he confessed quickly. Chapter 450 The Emperor's Speech. Rummenigge's confession was even more shocking, and it also shocked countless of Rummenigge's accomplices and political partners. This guy turned out to be a northern spy who had been lurking for many years. Those who helped Rummenigge to cry out for injustice and waved flags suddenly felt a chill on the back of their necks. They already had a very bad premonition. They seemed to see the devils of the Imperial Ministry of the Interior raising their butcher knives to them. Finally, there was a passage from Xia Xingchen. Your Majesty, we will now escort the 2 defectors back to the country, and please hold a public trial for them in a few months. Once again, I warn those who attempt to betray the Empire, that no matter where you go, I will find you out. The video was finished, and the scene was dead silent. None of the reporters recovered from the shock. No wonder the Galaxy Empire could hold such a large-scale press conference. Then, Emperor Qin spoke. This was his second speech to the entire public after he ascended the throne. I'm really sad about the defection of Rummenigge and Miranda. But what makes me more sad is that so many people who don't know the truth and those with ulterior motives took advantage of this incident to attack our government. Over the years, the illegal government of the North has been using various means to create trouble in the Empire and commit numerous crimes. In order to protect the safety of the country and the people, the Imperial military and the Ministry of the Interior have sacrificed countless people. However, there are still a large number of people who do not appreciate it. They only believe the one-sided words of some media sensationalism and put all the responsibility on the head of the Galactic Empire government. Through today's incident, I think those people who do not know the truth should be able to see the truth of the matter. For those who want to please the North by betraying the Empire, I think you can see your end. Even if you hide in Nicholas's bed, our Galactic Empire will pull you out. At that time, your family and accomplices will not escape the judgment of justice. Rummenigge's incident sounded a wake-up call for me. Due to the continuous connivance of the previous emperor, there are still many termites planted by the Northern Empire lurking around us. Now, we will conduct an investigation in all walks of life in the Empire. Please rest assured that I will not catch a good person by mistake, nor will I let a bad person go. I hope that the people can understand and cooperate with the investigation of the Ministry of Internal Affairs. If anyone has done something wrong, confess to the Ministry of Internal Affairs from now on and correct your mistakes. The government will give you a chance to correct yourself and start a new life. However, if someone is stubborn or tries to cover up their crimes, once they are found out, don't blame the Empire for being ruthless. Those who betray the Empire will be punished, no matter how far away they are. Warm applause broke out at the scene, and most people in the Galactic Empire also applauded. Emperor Qin's cowardice over the years has made many people dissatisfied and lost confidence in the Empire. And from Emperor Qin's words, one can feel that this is a courageous and vigorous emperor. Emperor Qin's declaration expressed the determination of the Galactic Empire. The action of arresting the 2 defectors also demonstrated the strong military strength of the Galactic Empire. Many people who were against the war, because they were worried about the failure of the Galactic Empire, also quietly changed their positions. Emperor Qin went offline after his speech. Next was the speech of De Yunfei, Minister of the Interior of the Galactic Empire. De Yunfei rebuked the Northern Empire for planting spies and carrying out sabotage activities in the Galactic Empire. De Yunfei asked those who conducted inappropriate activities in the Galactic Empire to surrender voluntarily, and severely warned those who had ill intentions. Immediately afterwards, Ji Liangs, the Minister of Propaganda of the Empire, announced that he would strengthen the control of media speech, and he would censor the news released by the media. If any media dared not to cooperate, the Ministry of the Interior would deal with them. The next process of the press conference was reporters asking questions. The first person to ask a question was a reporter from the Galaxy Democracy and Freedom Radio. He looked a little exasperated. The target of his question was De Yunfei, the Minister of the Interior of the Galaxy Empire. Excuse me, Minister Day, I understand that Rummenigge and Miranda are still attending a charity reception on the Bunker Star these 2 days, and the escort fleet sent by Emperor Nicholas has not yet arrived at the Bunker Star. The 2 people Xia Xingchen caught don't seem to be real. Moreover, according to the time you just said in the video, even if the Empire sent people to the north, as soon as the 2 of them defected, they couldn't get there. Could it be that the Empire's technology has made great progress and has developed super high-speed warships? But from the video, it seems to be the Rhine-class high-speed mecha cruiser of the Krupp Group. Even if the speed of the Rhine class is doubled than the data claimed by the Krupp Group, it seems that it can't get there. Now the border between the two countries is blocked, and the Sakhalin starfield is heavily guarded. How could the Rhine class go so deep behind enemy lines? Could it be that the Ministry of the Interior of the Galaxy Empire used two fakes to flatter itself, or to divert the attention of public opinion? As soon as the reporter finished speaking, the reporters at the scene exploded and began to discuss. The possibility of such a thing cannot be said to be non-existent. After all, the public opinion pressure faced by the Galactic Empire recently is really too great. Minister De Yunfei on the big screen smiled as I looked at the reporter through the camera at the scene. But my hand quietly entered a command on the keyboard in front of me. People like De Yunfei are already in the advanced stage of Volt Foxes. They belong to the category of not showing their emotions. Don't try to judge their emotions from their expressions and movements. The reporter in front of him obviously has ulterior motives and wants to lead public opinion and the public's attention into the ditch. And obviously, he succeeded. But De Yunfei was not panicked. He had a plan for such a thing. In the expectation of everyone, De Yunfei smiled. Regarding the question of this reporter, I really have to answer it seriously. Let's talk about the issue of the spacecraft you question first. Although the borders of the two countries have been blocked, and several common large and medium-sized wormholes have been closed, there are many small wild wormholes and one-way wormholes in the area bordering the western administrative region of our country and the northern Sakhalin administrative region. These wormholes are complex, but you can still travel between the two regions through them, but you have to take a considerable risk. Since the North declared war, we have destroyed and captured more than 70 medium-sized spacecraft and more than 900 small spacecraft sent by the Northern Empire in the border area with the Sakhalin starfield in the west. Among them are warships for reconnaissance and sabotage activities and a large number of smuggling spacecraft. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.